My boyfriend just found out I've slept with both of my guy best friends, and now he's demanding I distance myself from them, but I think that's an unreasonable request. Let me start right off with the problem. My two best friends in the world are men, and I've slept with both of them. It's not as bad as it seems, though. It's not like I have feelings for either of them. They're both childhood friends whom I've known for years and years, so I love them both with all of my heart, but the thought of being in a relationship with either of them is unfathomable. One of them, we'll call him Rob, is married now, but we had a brief relationship senior year of high school. We broke up after less than a year for several reasons. I wanted to travel abroad for university, he wanted kids and I didn't, his mother didn't think I was a good fit for him, I know, but we still remained friends. The other, we'll call him John, is a bit more complicated. I would never date him, because he has serious issues. And it's not so much the issues that stop me from dating him, but the fact that he adamantly refuses any kind of help or therapy for them. He had some major childhood trauma that he's big time repressing, and it's affected his ability to have a relationship. He's a bit of a womanizer. After I got back from university abroad, I was 23 and all alone and I needed a place to live. His parents had moved out to a condo on the beach and they let John live in their old house. And he offered me one of the spare bedrooms for very low rent. So we lived together for a while without incident. I dated a guy for like 2 years, and John had a constant stream of women in and out of his bedroom. But we discovered a system that worked for us, and we became closer than ever. The problem was, one night about a year after I broke up with my ex, we hung out in the house alone and got drunk together. We were both super feeling it and hooked up, and we had amazing love-making. Like, really, mind-blowing. I don't know if it was because I was drunk or because I'd only slept with 2 other people in my life who were both subpar. Rob and I had our V cards, and we only made love like twice before we broke up. And one of the main reasons I split with my other ex was intimately incompatible, but either way, it was great and we didn't want to stop. So we kept hooking up for about 8 months. At that point, one of his old exes came back into his life, and he realized he had feelings for her. We tried to stop hooking up, but quite frankly, we have no self-control. I realized I was 29 and had a steady job and there was no reason I shouldn't move out. So I left. We had one last night of our fun the day before I moved out and agreed to never talk about it again. Now, my current boyfriend came into my life. Sam had been a longtime co-worker of mine. We started working together when I got my job at 26. He was 29 and getting divorced. He told me all about it as it was happening. He and his wife got married way too fast. She had just broken up with her ex, and 5 months into dating Sam, she discovered she was pregnant with her ex's child. She pressured Sam into marriage because she didn't want to be a single mom, and he agreed. You can imagine why this didn't work out. Anyway, Sam and I became best friends in the workplace. He would tell me stories about his divorce, and I would tell him embarrassing childhood stories about Rob and John. Oh yeah, didn't I mention? We all work together. Rob and John are in different departments, but it's a pretty close-knit company. So he knew I had dated Rob in high school, but he never knew about me hooking up with John. When I told him I was moving out of John's house, he asked me why, and I just said that we were getting older and it was time for me to get my own place, which was absolutely true. That just happened to be the day that he confessed his longtime feelings for me, and we began to date. Now to the problem. About half a year ago, we decided to move in together. His lease was ending and I owned my house, so he moved into my place. He sometimes works really late nights, and on occasion I'll have Rob or John over to keep me company when he does. Last night he was meant to be working until 11 p.m. John was here and we were hanging out in the living room. It was about 10:30 p.m., and we were drinking a bit and talking kind of loudly. John mentioned to me that his girlfriend was always jealous and worried that he and I had feelings for each other. I said that was silly, and that just because 2 people have great lovemaking, doesn't mean they're in love. As I said, we were talking pretty loudly, so I guess Sam came in at some point and heard me say that. I didn't even hear him unlock the front door. But he stormed into the living room and confronted me, asking when John and I made love. He looked equal parts disappointed and angry. John left because he didn't want to be involved in our argument. I explained everything. I told him John and I used to hook up when we lived together, and that was part of the reason I moved out of his place, because it wasn't healthy for us to have that kind of relationship. It had been 4 years and we rarely ever spoke about it, and it hasn't affected our friendship at all. Sam now tells me he's uncomfortable with the fact that I have slept with both of the people I consider my best friends in the world. He's also uncomfortable with the fact that, just a few days before he and I got together, I made love with John. He says it taints our entire relationship because I lied to him about it. I think he's being a bit puritanical about it. Of course I have an intimate past, and why does it matter if it was only a few days before, since it didn't mean anything? It's not like I had feelings for John. And we always used protection and frequently got tested, and I told Sam that, so it's not like he's concerned about the health risks. He's just jealous. And he wants me to hang out with John less, and he doesn't feel comfortable with us drinking together at all. He also insists I should make new friends and separate myself a bit from Rob and John, because it's weird that both of the people I'm closest with are people who have seen me without clothes on. I think he's being entirely unreasonable. John and I are both in relationships, and we have no feelings for each other whatsoever. The fact that we hooked up with each other for a while is something we want to leave in the past. And to bring Rob into it is just ridiculous. It's been 15 years since we had anything to do with each other romantically, and he's now married with kids. I think Sam just wants to punish me or something because he's weirdly jealous. I honestly don't know what to make of this situation. Update: I know it's over a year later and probably no one remembers this post. But I will never forget it because hearing from all you Redditors changed my life and saved my relationship. So if there's anyone here who read my last post, you deserve to know that you were right. After reading all the comments on the last post, I realized that Sam was not overreacting at all and would have been more than reasonable to break up with me because of this. I showed him my post, and we had a long discussion in which I promised I would never hang out with Rob or John alone again. I told him I loved him so much and he was the most important person in my life and I would do anything to gain his trust back, even if he wanted me to stop seeing my friends altogether. He said that wasn't necessary, and he didn't mind if I saw them alone occasionally, just he would prefer if it were in public, and not late at night or with alcohol involved. He felt sorry for being judgmental of me, but I told him that he was completely right and my relationship with John was inappropriate. I just needed something like this to make me see it. So we moved past it fairly easily and are actually now married. It was a courthouse wedding on our 5th anniversary, very lovely. Now here's the part where everyone was right. After my conversation with Sam, John and I drifted apart a bit. I still hung out with Rob and his wife, but John broke up with his girlfriend and I no longer felt comfortable being with him alone. So he and I would hang out with Rob, but that happened maybe once or twice a month, where before we would see each other a few times a week. Then last Thanksgiving when Sam and I announced we were getting married, John actually left dinner early. He replied shortly to all my messages, didn't return my calls, and barely spoke to me. I didn't see him again until my wedding in December. You can guess where this is going. Thankfully nothing happened at the wedding, although that would have made for a great screenplay, as someone in a comment on the last post mentioned. It was a small ceremony, just our families, a couple of Sam's friends, Rob, his wife, and John. We went out to a restaurant for a reception dinner and John seemed withdrawn the entire time. I guess he was not happy that I was married. So since Sam and I got back from our honeymoon in January, I have seen John maybe twice, once for Easter and again for Rob's birthday. I've tried to say hi at work, but he always makes an excuse and walks away. He didn't even come to Sam's birthday last month. After that I decided that I would stop trying to reach out to him, and he could talk to me when he was ready. Last week he was finally ready. Sam was offered an opportunity to travel abroad for 8 months with his job, with me invited to come along. We decided to accept it, and I suppose John saw Sam's Facebook post about it because the next day John sought me out at work. He asked me if I was really leaving the country for 8 months, and when I said yes, he asked why I couldn't stay. I asked why he cared if I stayed when we hadn't really spoken in months. He said I'm sorry. Never mind. And walked away, but at that point it was clearer than ever what was really going on. So Sam and I are leaving in September. His job will still be waiting for him when he gets back, but I have decided to find a new one. I'm glad that I'll be out of the country for a bit. I feel really stupid to not have realized that John could have feelings for me. There's never been anything there on my end, so I just assumed it was the same for him since we were able to be roommates and friends with benefits. It seems obvious now. Everyone who commented on my last post was spot on about our relationship not being normal, and I am so glad that Reddit was able to see what I wasn't. I am so deliriously happy in love with my husband. I don't even want to think about what would have happened had I not posted here. So thank you all again, and I hope this update is in some way satisfying. My boyfriend has been weirdly obsessed with how perfect I am for his best friend, and I'm starting to think he's trying to push me into a relationship with him. As the title suggests, I, 24 female, believe that my boyfriend, 26 male, might be trying to push me towards dating his best friend. I've been dating my boyfriend, let's call him Michael, for about a year now. We've known each other for several years because we've always been in the same friend group since high school. His best friend, let's call him John, is also someone I've known for a long time since he's part of the same group. John had asked me out years ago but I turned him down because he's always been somewhat of a cocky guy who could never see he was ever wrong. Many people find him charming but I think smarmy is a better word. He seemed offended but brushed it off and even told people that I had asked him out and he rejected me, which was fine because it didn't affect my life at all. After a few months all was forgotten and we just pretended the other one didn't exist, and that's how it's been for years. Until Michael asked me out randomly and I decided to give it a shot. It turned out we had a lot of similar hobbies and really had a good time, so we started dating shortly after that. Now about 6 months ago Michael started to act strange but in really subtle ways. I would talk about how much I loved animals and he would interject that John just loved animals. Which wouldn't be weird, but he did it with everything I talked about with even the slightest bit of enthusiasm. If I loved it, John loved it just as much. He told me how compatible me and John were and how he wished we meshed more. I eventually told Michael the first really didn't care what John liked because he was kind of pretentious and we never got along. He seemed really offended but quickly recovered, and by the next day everything was good again. About a week after that instance Michael would talk up John randomly and with seemingly no reason. Hey, I talked to Brittany yesterday and man, John is apparently a god in bed, haha. Maybe I should ask the guy for tips? John is volunteering at that shelter we went to a couple weeks ago. What a guy. We should have John make us dinner, he's a great cook. It was every day to every other day I had to hear about John's greatness, and it was to the point I initially thought that Michael wanted to date John. Then 3 weeks ago, after we had some drinks, he asked me, if we ever broke up, would you date someone else in the group? I had no idea what to say because it was so random, but he quickly filled the void by saying, I think I would if I were you and John was single. Seriously? So 3 days ago I confronted him in the kitchen and told him that if he had anything he wanted to tell me I would listen to it no matter what, and that I would always be there for him. He seemed confused and told me he had no idea what I meant by that. So I brought up all the times he talked about John and how he would date him, and told him that if he really wanted to date John, the first understood and would support them. After all, they're best friends, so they obviously have a good connection. When I say he blew up, I cannot stress how angry he got. He used a dozen slurs for gay people and said he was disgusted I saw him like that and that he would never do something like that. We ended up getting in a huge fight over it because I certainly don't support his language or attitude toward LGBTQ folks, and that it was just a vibe I got from him and I didn't mean to mislabel him. We haven't really talked, but he's staying at his parents' house right now, and today John called me to tell me he doesn't support Michael's attitude toward me and invited me over to talk about it, even saying that Michael was 100% okay with it. Am I crazy? Am I making up some convoluted story in my head, or is this bizarre? Edit to add, so I called Michael when he got off work, and the first thing he asked me was if I went to vent to John. Naturally, I didn't because we're not close, and told him as much. He didn't have much to say to that, so I started on my questions that you guys suggested. Why are you pushing me toward John? Do you want to break up? Etc. He got once again defensive and said he refused to talk about it over the phone and suggested we meet at John's place to talk it out. I asked why John had to be included at all since it is really between the two of us, and he basically told me that it's really between the three of us. I refused meeting at John's for obvious reasons and told him if it had to be the three of us we could meet at a restaurant. He seemed fine with that, and we scheduled meeting at a bar and grill that's pretty close to all of us. I showed up early and got us a table that had some privacy, and not long after John walks through the door, he sat down immediately and started chatting about how we were both so timely and that he liked when women showed up early because it showed they had good time management skills. 25 minutes after Michael was supposed to show up, he texts me and says he had car problems and couldn't make it, but to get to know John since I was already there. I'm just beyond livid at this point. John keeps trying to buy me drinks and even tries to schedule another time to hang out. I confronted him about Michael pushing me toward him, and he acted like he didn't know what I was talking about. I kept mentioning how Michael was talking about him to me, and John just said that it made sense because bros have bros' backs. I told him the brothers can have each other and left fuming. Michael's tried calling me 3 times, and John's tried 7. I want to cut them both off and say good riddance, but to do that would be leaving the friend group as well, and I don't really have that many friends to begin with, and it makes me so mad that I even have to make this decision. Anyway, that's the update. Sorry if it doesn't resolve anything, it makes me angry too. Update: I went to Michael's house pretty early this morning since I have work today and really needed this resolved. I had been up all night going back through the comments and trying to piece everything together, and honestly it was driving me crazy. Michael was alone when I got there, which was a relief because I pictured John showing up like a movie villain. He initially didn't want to let me in, which was really weird, but I told him I wasn't going to leave without talking to him about this. So he finally let me come in, and we sat down to talk. I asked him about last night, which he said he had car trouble, but it was all fixed now. Convenient. I asked him a few more questions but was met with vague answers, so I decided to just cut to the chase and said, why do you want me to like John? Do you want me to date him? Do you want to have a threesome? What is it? Once again, instead of answering, he just watched me from his stupid chair and then had the nerve to ask me who I told my suspicions to. So I said I'd been running them through my head, but that my mom knew I was coming over to talk. She didn't, but he was starting to be really creepy. He got mad and said it wasn't like that, and I was making him out to be the bad guy because they were, yes, they, looking for something long-term, not just a one-time thing. And now that all my suspicions were 100% confirmed, I told him you can't make plans including someone else without their consent, and that I would never be interested in anything with the two of them, and that I was no longer interested in anything with just him either. I started leaving and told him to never contact me again. Same goes for John, and he could share the message when he blocked my way out and said I had to hear him out and his side of the story. I told him I didn't want to nor care to, and that he needed to let me leave because my mom was expecting me in the next half hour. He started getting frantic, saying if he could just get John over there to explain it would all make sense. So I ran out the back door and used the garden exit to get to my car and locked the doors immediately. He came outside and started pounding on my window saying I was making a huge mistake and that I'd regret this. I was bawling in my car when I backed it up to drive away. I'm pretty sure I drove over their mailbox by accident because the back of my car has a huge dent. My car was basically out of gas, so I had to stop even though all I wanted to do was put as much space between us as possible. Which is when I saw the dent, right when I was about to leave. Who else would call my name but his mom? She was on her way home from the grocery store and was worried because I looked like hell warmed over. I told her about everything that just happened and got more than a few stares from other people, but screw it, I guess I'm just the crazy lady at Maverick. His mom looked horrified for me and told me to stay as far away from him as possible. She told me to come sit with her in her car, where she proceeded to ask me when I met Michael, which was high school. She figured as much and said that in middle school, him and John S.A.'d a girl together and have a sealed record because they were minors and didn't mean to do it. She told me how sorry she was because she said it happened so long ago she thought he changed. She put him in therapy and thought he was better. She said if she had any idea there might have been a chance of this happening she would have told me immediately. I just gave her a quick bye and I'm so freaking scared of everything right now. I'm going to my mom's since they both know where I live. I sent a mass text out to everyone in the group detailing everything and so far 3 people have said they support me so that's good I guess. What do I even do? I'm never talking to them again. I've already blocked them both on everything I could think of but I've been getting hidden number calls since. I'm considering going into the police station to file a harassment complaint so that it's at least documented. My mom said she's going to call my uncle who works at the court and see what the next best step is. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if I would have confronted Michael without you guys confirming how weird this was. I'm terrified but glad that I at least know what's going on now. My mom's here as my support right now and some of the girls are coming over later tonight just to make sure I'm okay. I'm sorry if this only makes some sense, the adrenaline still hasn't left me and my hands are unsteady. I appreciate every single one of you who took time to help me out because I think I got out just in time honestly. Thank you guys. Last update. I'm so sorry it took me so long to update. Life has been crazy in between everything and the state shutting down again I've been a mess. I went and talked to the police about getting a restraining order but the officer I talked to said it fell into domestic violence and had me file a DVOP, domestic violence orders of protection, and we have an unset court date to take it before a judge. I'm nervous as heck about it but at least something is going to happen. With Michael anyway, because I didn't have a relationship with John and he never technically harassed me, so there's not much I could do with him. I'm still getting a ton of blocked calls but I'm in the process of changing my number so that should resolve itself soon enough. I'm back in my apartment though we've added some new safety features, cameras and new locks, and currently it's a waiting game. I have to see Michael in court at some point to tell my story, and John's gone missing in action. When the police went to talk to him he wasn't home and hasn't been as far as anyone I talked to knows. I get weird letters left at my door but they've all been delivered by the post office so not much I can do about that. It's mostly rambling about love which gives me the creeps. I've stopped opening them at this point and keep them in the drawer for when I go to court. I have an interview for a new job so wish me luck. My boss has let Michael in twice since I've been back and I don't feel safe there anymore. My friends are split 80-20 now. Minority thankfully is with Michael and John but now I know who I can't trust. Anyone who listened to what I had to say and still think I'm being irrational because I led John on is a jerk, no way about it. So good riddance. Unfortunately my mom wasn't left alone and someone broke her front window so the police also had to show up for that one. It's been quiet for 2 days now, I'm not sure whether to be relieved or nervous. Does looking over your shoulder ever go away? I hope so. This feels more like a diary now than a post. I'm okay though and my life is getting there so once again thanks to everyone who helped or messaged me. OP leaves a small update in the comments 4 months later. Michael's tried to see me a few times but every time he attempts to is just another thing I can write down for my court case. He technically isn't allowed near me or my place of work while we wait but he's tried because he can't take no for an answer. Most of my friends are still with me though and I didn't realize how much I hoped they would be until it all calmed down and I still had them around to help me through everything. I got a new job and a new place to live after someone tried to break in when I was out of town. I finally got my day in court and Michael can't be within 800 feet of me without me being able to call the police. He also can't go anywhere I typically go which includes my new apartment building or job. The letters really helped with all that because everything else was just my word against his situation. I asked his mom to come as a witness but she refused to talk against her son so whatever. But yeah basically I'm breathing new fresh air around here. I've seen John twice in passing and it still gives me the creeps. He's not barred from being around me so he makes it a point to show up, public places, when he can and just hang around like the weasel he is. But the police gave him a very stern and impromptu talk when he showed up to support Michael at court. I think I'm in the clear but they just want me to know they're still around which sadly there isn't much I can do to stop John anyway. Yeah that's all for now. Thank you again to everyone for your advice and nice comments, it was very helpful and I'm so grateful. Bye now.
My world shattered when my wife passed away, but now my so-called friends made it worse by exploiting my daughter's grief on TikTok when I trusted them to watch her, and I'm so heartbroken. My 29 male, wife, 28 female, passed away a few months ago. We had known each other for over 15 years, and were married for 5 years. We were soulmates, longtime friends, and we had never imagined that we would break up, divorce, or live a life apart from each other. Last week, I sort of collapsed and had to go to the hospital. Nothing serious, just weakness due to stress, anemia and lack of sleep. In any case, during this time my kid had to stay with my close friend and his girlfriend for a while until my parents drove over to pick her up. A few days after this event, a lot of my old acquaintances and friends I hadn't heard from in years randomly began to message me, call me, ask to meet up, offer help out of nowhere etc. I didn't know why this was happening until I found out that my friend and his girlfriend had posted a TikTok of my child which ended up going a bit viral in my town. I watched the video, and I couldn't stop sobbing for several hours. I've been trying to keep it together, but I can no longer do so. Apparently, my friend and his girlfriend were making a video of their kid and mine playing together when my kid started crying saying she missed her mom. In the video, my friend and his girlfriend proceed to question her, saying and ooh and asking her if she knows where her mom is, and how much she misses her mom, when she's coming back, etc. My daughter is too young and has trouble understanding that her mom is dead and not coming back, goddammit. I work from home, and she mostly stays with me while my wife goes to work, grocery shopping, etc., and my kid still thinks her mom is at work. In the video, she continues to say her mom is at work, and my friends question her, asking when she's coming back, how much she misses her mom and similar questions. The video is captioned, "My friend's wife recently passed away. I feel so bad for their daughter who doesn't understand she's gone," or something to that effect. I am heartbroken, angry, bitter, and I wish I could explain the amount of hatred I have towards my friend, his girlfriend, and all the people who have commented saying how much they pity my kid. I don't know how to get over this feeling of anger and deep resentment. Since then, they have taken down the video and apologized, but how could they be so insensitive? The worst thing is I keep rewatching the video, and every time I feel myself get torn apart by the fact that my kid doesn't understand what has happened. I am so upset and bitter, and I've been repeatedly thinking I should have died instead. I've been trying my hardest to make my daughter not miss her mom, and I feel deeply pained by the fact that my kid will never know her mom, or my wife never got a chance to see our daughter grow up. I'm rambling, but I don't know where to go, where to talk about this. I was trying to keep myself together. It's late at night and I'm rewatching this video and remembering the comments of how my daughter will grow up without a mother, and it's making me feel deep resentment for my friend and his girlfriend. I am so upset and angry I am shaking just thinking about it. I don't know how to function anymore. Perhaps, I am directing all my anger and frustration towards them. I'm self-aware enough to understand that, but how could they be so insensitive? How could they do this to me? What gave them the right to ask my kid those questions, to make her miss her mom even more? I don't know why I'm here. Sorry if this is too much, I'm not thinking, just writing whatever comes to my head. I just wanted to vent. I just don't know where else to go, but I had to talk to someone. My parents and her parents have been very supportive, but I feel suffocated and don't feel comfortable talking to them. I'm starting to hate living, and that scares me. My daughter doesn't deserve to lose her father too. Damn, I wish I could just move on already and be a good father. I hope I love her the way she deserves. She's the most precious thing in the world, and I am so terrified that I am going to let her down and disappoint her. What was supposed to be a fun first date turned into a nightmare when she introduced me to her entire family, and I ended up humiliating her and insulting everyone. So I joined a dating website to try and get more dates. That was my only intention with signing up. I have been working too much for 2 years at my new job, and I just wanted to get out there in the dating world and have a good time. I got an email and set up a date with this girl. It's my 5th date from the site, and it's been fun. But this one girl was like one of those love at first sight moments when we met at a restaurant. I saw her and she was perfect. I tried to play it cool, but I felt like I could just cut ties with all the girls I've dated prior and just commit to her. Physically, she was everything I could ever ask for and exactly my type. Her personality seemed about a 10 out of 10. About 30 minutes into sitting down, we didn't even order because we were just talking and connecting so well. The chemistry was as good as it was with my first true love when I was 13. It was perfect, sparks were flying. I thought I was done and ready to commit here. But then she tells me to forget about ordering food, let's go somewhere else, and she has this idea. She won't say much and I like surprises, so I didn't ask much. We jumped in my car and drove to this restaurant about 20 minutes away, kind of out of town. It was halfway up a mountain near a ski resort. I'm familiar with the area, so no big deal. What is the worst that can happen? We walk in and her family is celebrating her aunt's birthday. There was only her family there, and there was a lot of them, about 40 people. She introduces me and everybody was happy to meet me and real nice. Everybody also knew that she was out on a first date. They were asking her stuff like, "Is this the guy? Is this your date? Is this the one?" All of the sudden I wasn't so cool and relaxed. I felt heavy pressure to be on my best behavior. It was high pressure to the 3rd degree. But everybody was nice, so that helped. We sat down and I started being questioned by her older sister, her aunt, and another lady that I forget her relation to my date. The mom started kind of defending me and telling them to back off and let me eat. But the interrogating continued. After I don't know how long, they turned to my date and jokingly said, "We approve." Then I was able to kind of get my bearings about me for a minute. I was totally off balance all night, just very tense. I was afraid the back of my shirt would look soaking wet because of the nerves. So the sister brings her cute little girl and lets me hold her, and she and my date started taking pictures of me holding her, and somebody else's baby boy as well. I started to feel like the tone of it all was that we were a couple. I kind of felt like I was married to her and these nice people were my in-laws. After a couple of hours, probably closer to 3 hours, everybody was kind of tiring out and everything began to wind down. Keep in mind her car is still at the other restaurant down the hill. Then her dad suddenly asks me jokingly what my intentions are with his daughter. Though I can't remember how he phrased the question. Everybody at the table looked at me, which is about half the people there. I guess I was exhausted from all the questioning. I was questioned by multiple people, multiple times, and the pressure of it all because I kind of lost it. He asked the question, I looked across the table at her, and she told her dad to stop it. Her dad smiles and jokingly says that he'd really like to hear my response, and her uncle, I think, also said he'd like to know, jokingly. I looked at my date and said, "Can I talk to you alone for a minute?" To which her dad laughs loudly and says I made him nervous. So everybody is laughing now and I guess it was a big joke. Then I said to my date, "Hey, can I talk to you alone for a minute?" I stood up in place, kind of. It was one of those long bench seats and I couldn't push it back cause other people were sitting on it. Then her sister, I think, says, "Oh, there are no secrets in this family. Speak your mind." People then laugh again and everybody starts making jokes about not having secrets, and this man who married into the family somehow tells me that he remembers being in my place and he says, "Let me give you some advice. The best thing to do right now is speak your mind and be honest." Then others join in and echo his sentiment, all jokingly I think. So I looked at my date and she says something like, "You can tell me anything here, we're all family." She also I think was joking. But I had started to lose my ability to tell when people were joking and when they were serious. So the dad says, "Wait, I haven't gotten an answer to my question." So finally I speak directly to the dad and say, "I'd like to discuss that with her first." But I regretfully laughed as I said it. So her dad says, "I asked you first, I want to know." I turn to my date and she says something like, "Go ahead, you can tell me, I'm a big girl, I can handle it." So I said okay, and sat down, then took a couple of breaths while her dad kind of quieted everybody down. I started with, "I think I made a huge mistake." It all spiraled down from there. I said harsh things like that I felt like I was having a bad dream where I was suddenly married. I questioned her intentions in bringing me there. I said stuff like, "What were you thinking? Yes, I liked you, but I just met you, and right now I know your aunt." I pointed at her sitting next to me, "Better than I know you." I think she was humiliated, but I couldn't stop. The more I spoke, the more bad stuff came out. Total freaking tailspin. I said I want to find someone special, but I don't want to skip the first 29 dates and skip to date 30, which is what I'd done that night. Then people started interrupting and chiming in and suggesting that she and I slow down and have a real first date. I wasn't having it, I was out of control. I said, "No, it's too late for that, I feel robbed here. I wanted to meet this girl, get to know her, date her, and maybe fall for her, but now it's like we're engaged and her whole family is here and there are all these expectations. We skipped the getting to know each other and dating part, so I feel robbed." Then I said yet another thing I regret. I said it's a huge red flag, with an emphatic gesture, that I asked for a minute alone with you to talk, and this is what I got instead. I added something like, "You're all great and a great family, but the lack of certain boundaries is a huge red flag for me. I would never let my relationship become family business." My date interrupts me at this point and says, "Okay, so let's talk in private, let's go outside and talk. I'm sorry I didn't give you that minute, let's go outside and talk privately, I'll give you all night." She was visibly shaken and I could tell tears were inevitable. I stood up again and realizing that I had insulted all of them, I just quietly walked out. I felt really bad because they were all nice and had nothing but the best intentions for me. They love her, and they were literally telling me that I was good enough, which should have been a compliment, but I somehow took it the wrong way and spat in their face. I didn't even drink. We walked out and I let her have it again. She's now sobbing uncontrollably. She apologized and pretty much begged for us to start over, and I told her I wasn't into it, and then I left her there. I drove home and couldn't help but wonder if I overreacted. I couldn't sleep and I woke up this morning feeling like I probably did overreact, and now I feel like crap. But it's done, I can't undo it. Should I call her and apologize for humiliating her and insulting her family? Or should I just move on? Or should I wait and see if she calls and apologize then? Update a few weeks later, just want to clear something up. My date never had a profile on the dating site. She was browsing through with her friend who has a profile and they were looking for a date for her friend. It was the friend who originally messaged me to set me up with my date. Also, I deleted my profile. I'm totally done with online dating. I've been in this city 2 years now, so I'm gonna just go out and meet people the old-fashioned way. It just feels less risky somehow. I know this is gonna disappoint many of you, but I decided to speak with her. The very day I posted here was the day immediately after our date. That same evening she called me, but I didn't answer because I was in the shower, so she sent me a text that said, "Do you hate me too much to talk to me?" I texted back, "I don't hate you." She responded, "Can I call you?" I texted, "Yes." So she called and immediately went into full apology damage control mode. I told her that it was okay, that I was already over it and moved on. She asked if there was any way we could meet because there were some things she wanted to say in person and she wanted for us to part with a handshake and all that. It kind of sounded like she needed closure. So I agreed to meet her downtown to talk the following Tuesday. Not a date, no lunch, no coffee, we just met at a park. We met and I knew she was still the one. She told me she loves me and we decided to try it again. We went on 3 dates and I proposed. She said yes. We're gonna get married in December. No big wedding, we're gonna fly to Las Vegas and do it there. The plan is to spend Christmas as a married couple. Just kidding, I'm not that crazy. Hopefully you're still reading. We met at a park just to talk. I had been so disappointed because I felt that the spark and the butterflies in the stomach would be gone. That I wouldn't like her anymore. As soon as I saw her, this was confirmed. There was no spark. She looked great, but I just didn't feel it. It kind of crushed me. So I decided to listen to her as she apologized again and told me she had really liked me on that first date and got carried away and made a very dumb decision that she wishes she could take back. She added that her mom had pulled her aside when we arrived and right from the beginning told her that if she liked me, she just made a big mistake by bringing me. I guess her mom pretty much cringed when she saw us walk in that night. Also, I should say that her mom was the only one defending me that night and practically pulling people off of me like her religious uncle who asked me if I'd been saved. I remember that pretty well, but I guess her mom came down on her hard for not just having a first date. But she also said that things got even crazier after I left. Her mom wasn't there for my rant. She had driven somebody home and came back after I'd left. She found my date outside crying and was told what happened. Her mom, I guess, stormed into the restaurant and went off on everybody for ganging up on me. My date says she called them a bunch of out-of-control animals. The whole thing was reduced to a big finger-pointing fest by everybody. The mom was furious because the story is that my date's dad left them when my date was 9. He had some sort of breakdown and became an alcoholic. He became verbally and emotionally abusive, so the mom kicked him out to protect the kids. He refused to get his act together and disappeared for almost 10 years. So the mom hates when the dad acts like he has a say in his kids' lives since he was gone and just came back less than 2 years ago. But he still lives over an hour away. A lot of the people that were there I guess live far away and they flew in for the aunt's birthday. Supposedly most of them she only sees once a year at the most. So the mom went off on him especially hard and questioned his right to have any say in his daughter's decision to date anybody. She embarrassed him in front of everybody for having overstepped so many boundaries. So she told me this stuff because she wanted me to know that she was very sorry she let her dad act all fatherly when it wasn't the time and it wasn't his place. These were her words, not mine. In a way I'm glad the mom wasn't there to witness me going off, because then I would have felt really bad. But come to think of it, she probably would have stepped in and prevented it. She asked me if there was a way we could have that first date again. But I said no. There's no way I can pretend that we are meeting for the first time after all of that. I know too much about her. I feel way too gone past that first date mode right now, and maybe I need to take a break from formal dates. I did apologize to her for not telling her right away how uncomfortable I was and for going off on her outside the restaurant. I told her that there were a lot of nice people there that I felt bad about, but that I'm sure they understand me cause they seemed reasonable. As I was talking to her I could see how much better she felt that I had given my own apology. Her face went from subdued and sorry, to kind of hopeful and semi-happy. She started to get back her glow and her spunk. We started talking about other stuff, what I do at work, my hobbies, and some other casual stuff. The more I talked the more she glowed. I felt bad because she showed up looking kind of fragile and contrite. She looked vulnerable, but by the end of our conversation she was smiling and looked more sure of herself. I tried to show my sense of humor and made her laugh. I felt kind of sorry for her, so I made it my goal to send her home smiling. I kind of started to feel that spark again after she started smiling and laughing more. She has a great laugh, it's really cute and innocent. It felt a lot like it did at the restaurant. Her awesomeness comes back when she's comfortable. She definitely does it for me. I walked her to her car and we agreed that another date is probably not a good idea right now. She wanted to meet my yoga teacher because she's the best. My date, I feel weird not tying her name, has said she needs to learn to relax more when she's stressed out. So I met her at yoga class the following Thursday, the 7th, and made the introduction. My date has been coming to the same 3 yoga sessions that I do weekly. We talk there. She still flirts with me and hints that we should meet for hot tea. Neither of us is a coffee drinker. I walk her to her car after class because it's dark by then. I still like her and I can tell she feels the same way. The spark is all the way back now. But all those comments I got here on my original post about her being crazy are still completely lodged in my head. They have me second guessing myself about staying in touch with her. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but whatever it is, it's going to take time. Final update, we continued to attend the same yoga class, then I accepted an invitation from her to get tea after class. We had a lot of fun and made plans for an official date. I went out on a date with her. We dated for a while and took it really slowly. I asked her to be my girlfriend in early February. So far things have gone really smoothly. My lease is up in June, and I want to move out of my apartment because it's kind of a bachelor place. I want to rent a house and ask her to move in. I feel like our relationship is growing fast and deepening fast, but I think the reason is because we turned out to be so compatible. Also, I really am in love with her and she with me, so I don't want to take it slow anymore. I know she's going to be very happy when I ask her to move in with me. So that's where things are. This is the last update we got from OP and hopefully we hear from him again sometime.
My friend has been spinning wild stories about her life for years, but I just found out everything I know about her is a lie, and now I have to figure out how to expose her to the whole group without losing my mind. This all came to light after I, 24 female, tried to do something nice for my friend who I'll call Jessie, 21 female. Just for clarification, the other names that will be used are B, my best friend, Sharon, my best friend's little sister, and Jack, a mutual friend. This post is going to be long, but you need all the information. I don't even know how to put it into words. Important backstory, I met Jessie through B and Sharon. Jessie was Sharon's high school best friend, and because B and I lived together, we would all hang out as a group. Jessie seemed to take a liking to hanging out with B and I about 2 years ago, and started hanging around us more. She quickly became one of our very close friends. B and Sharon's father passed away from brain cancer in September of 2022, so less than a year ago. He was also like a father to me, because I have had no father figure for the past 12 years of my life. Jessie has a childhood history of lying, which we attributed to her being the youngest sister and the fact that she didn't have many friends growing up. Anyway, I have a large friend group, maybe 8 to 10 people, outside of B and Jessie. After he passed, I ended up introducing both B and Jessie to this friend group, as Sharon got a boyfriend, and started to spend most of her time with him. Jessie latched onto the group and got comfortable enough to hang out with them without me around. I was glad to see this, and I involved her in almost every aspect of my life because my friend group is truly like my family. She uses B and I's car frequently as she doesn't have her own. B got her a job at the restaurant she worked at, etc. We buy food at our apartment we know she likes, she eats dinner that I cook, drinks our alcohol, etc. She has never offered to pay us back or contribute to the food and alcohol consumption or anything else really, but we kinda just chalked it up as her just being forgetful. Shortly after I introduced her to the group, she confided in everyone that her mom may have lung cancer. We all were there for her and supported her while she was waiting for the test results. When they came back positive, we all offered to cook meals and send cards and letters, but Jessie declined, stating that none of that was necessary. It was caught early and she just needed to have it removed. We never heard anything else about it, other than her mom was doing fine. A few months later, she started casually seeing a member of the friend group named Jack. He lives about an hour away from us, but visits the group when he can. I had also been seeing someone who I'll call Peter. Jessie said that she and Jack had gotten really close, that they were possibly talking about dating, but that they were probably going to hold off because of the distance. Jessie said she introduced Jack to her horse, that he would come stay at her parents' house, etc. During this time, she also got a new job as an engineer at a very prestigious company that was out of the area. She quit working for B's job, serving or hosting. It started as an internship, but transitioned into more. She said that it was a mostly work-from-home position, and that it paid incredibly well, even saying she had one of our friends look over. When my birthday came around in June, we planned a big party in our friend group because 2 of our other friends have birthdays around the same time. It was a costume party, yes, in June, where you show up as either a hero or a villain. About 2 hours before the party was supposed to start, Jessie texted me saying her mother had tried to off herself and was in the hospital, but that Jessie was still going to try and come to the party, just without a costume. I was very understanding. When she arrived, she took me and some of my other close friends into a private room away from the party and explained in detail what happened, that she was the one who found her mom, she had to call 911, it was very traumatic, etc. Everyone still had fun, but it took a lot of joy away from the party. At the time, I was trying not to be upset or selfish because I knew that her mom was important to her and that all of our friends were here, so she didn't really have anywhere else to go. Right after my birthday, I found out that Peter was manipulating me and everyone else in my friend group into thinking he wanted a relationship with me, told me he wanted me to move cross-country with him, etc., only to find out that that was all a lie and he was using me for emotional intimacy. While I was going through this, Jessie was saying that Jack was doing the exact same thing to her. We sat on the couch and grieved together. I was sad for her. She dragged his name through the mud in our friend group, but continued to say she was seeing him casually or just for love-making now without any emotional involvement. A few days ago, maybe about a week or so, Jessie confided in us that her mother's cancer had possibly come back. She had the scan results in a matter of days. She had been saying that her uncle worked for some doctor's hospital and was able to expedite results, and said they were positive. We were there for her. Very long story shortened as much as I can, I decided to do something nice for Jessie to try and show that I care. I am autistic, and I have a hard time offering physical and emotional comfort. I am an artist, and I was trying to draw her a picture of her horse and paint it with watercolors. I realized that I didn't have any pictures of her horse, so I reached out to Jack and asked for a description or picture since I knew he had met her. He responded with, "Jessie has a horse?" I thought he was joking at first, but I very quickly realized he had no idea what I was talking about. Turns out, he and Jessie hadn't been seeing each other at all. They had slept together a few times in April, but had cut it off after that. He provided screenshots of their conversation since then, and it was captured in 2 pictures. He also provided time-stamped photos of him literally out of state when she said that they supposedly were together. This started an entire spiral of realizing that nothing she had ever said actually made sense. I reverse image searched a photo she had sent us, an incredibly grainy one, of her at a rodeo, and it was literally a doctored stock image. This is the only picture of her with a horse that she has ever sent and that I have ever seen. There is none on her social media or on her phone. I asked everyone in our friend group, and no one had seen pictures of her horse, and it isn't on any of her social media. There's almost no way that she has this job at this big company, because she never graduated college and her position requires a college education. She also had previously used B's laptop to work, but upon checking computer history, the only thing it shows she was working on was a D&D campaign. She also is never in the location that the company is actually in, always seems to have the day off with PTO or be done with her work, and conveniently never has her card on her to pay for things or is locked out of her Cash App or Venmo and will bring cash the next time she sees us. But somehow always forgets that she owes us money, almost as if she doesn't have any money to give us. She literally told Jack that she had a Skyline GTR, type of car with a base price of over $100,000 I guess, but that she wrecked it. Neither B nor I have ever heard of this story. I started to remember things she told us that just didn't make any sense and felt like they had been taken out of our own lives. She said she was robbed at gunpoint, but the timeline of the police making an arrest and returning her belongings, less than 24 hours, made no sense. I would know because I was robbed 2 years ago and had to testify in court because he stole my car. I have a copy of the security footage of my phone because I had to turn it into my insurance. I have also had a gun put to my head by an ex-partner who I literally had to have arrested. She said her mom attempted to off herself, but Jessie's location never once said she was at a hospital. All of us share our locations with each other, and B has seen her mom over FaceTime since then. No scars were there, definitely would have been based on the details that Jessie provided. And the cancer. I think that there was likely some sort of scare, but I don't know that I believe her mom was ever actually diagnosed. Especially not this second time. My granddad and B's dad passed from cancer. I know how long it takes to get those results, because waiting is agonizing. I have proof that at the time Jessie says she was at the hospital with her mom who was having multiple seizures literally last night, her location shows her sitting at home. Things in our home have also gone missing. Chargers, grinders and their contents, clothing, etc. Jessie is always the first to blame other people that have been in our home, but she literally has access to our apartment at all times. She has been there before when we aren't home. What if she's been having people over and claiming it's her apartment? Stuff has been moved and things have gone missing. I literally don't know what to do or how to process any of this. I did some sleuthing and messaged her sisters on Instagram asking for a photo of Jesse's horse and offering my support with their mother's diagnosis. I'm anxiously awaiting a response. In the meantime, B and I have to see her tonight and put on the performance of a lifetime. Even if she isn't lying about her mom, although all of the other evidence I don't have the energy or ability to describe in this post points to the fact that it's all fake, the way that she manipulated me into offering her support during one of the lowest times of my life and lied about my friend to our entire friend group is enough for me to cut her off. I'm just trying to let the right pieces fall into place and get as much information as I can before I confront her with printed screenshots. We lied and said they were doing a battery check on our key fobs, and asked her to bring hers with her tonight, as well as all of the clothes that she has of ours so we can take inventory and figure out what we need to buy for our winter wardrobe. She will not be getting the fob back or be borrowing any clothes. She will absolutely not be coming back with us to our apartment to stay and won't be left alone with any of our belongings. What the hell do I do? How do I tell the rest of the shared friend group that she's been lying the whole time? I don't understand why she would lie about any of this or the other things she's just invented. Is this some sort of mental illness that can be treated? Please help. Any thoughts or advice are helpful. Added to add some examples of some other possible, likely, lies. 1. She is a licensed mechanic. She wasn't able to help me with an oil change because she didn't know how, which I thought was suspicious. 2. She got kicked out of a Zach Bryan concert because the girl in front of her was making fun of her Doc Martens and she fought her. She drove my car to the concert, returned it with an empty tank and did not offer to put gas into it, but she never posted any pictures of the concert or the event and she always does this. 3. Her dad was abusive, said this after she found out that my dad assaulted me. 4. Her ex was abusive, said this after she found out that I survived 2 DV relationships. 5. She had a large SLUT tattoo removed from her abdomen and they used a special cream to make sure it didn't scar. To my knowledge there is no such thing and no evidence or picture of said tattoo. 6. Jack gave her a Patagonia jacket to keep and remember him by while he wasn't with her because it didn't fit him right. He denied this and says that he accidentally left it in her car when she gave him a ride to a bar and used to wear it every day for work. 7. She had an abortion at 6 to 7 months, said this after she found out about my abortion due to the DV situation I was in, claimed it was for the same reason. 8. Said she vacuumed B's floor after staying in our house for 5 days. She has psoriasis and sheds all over the house. The vacuum was in the exact same spot that it was when I had last used it the day prior in the living room, and when B swept the floor, it wasn't clean at all. There were flakes literally everywhere. There are so many more, but I am already blown away by this. My brain is literally mush at this point. Update 10 days later, so B, Sharon, and I took Jessie out to a Mexican restaurant, and waited until she ordered her food and drink before we started the official intervention. She has a nasty habit of leaving her wallet at home or getting locked out of her bank account, Venmo, or Cash App, so we had all agreed not to cover any part of her tab and to turn her information over to the server or manager if she tried to dine and dash. She was supposed to bring my pair of shorts, as well as a $50 bill to pay me back from buying her Barbenheimer tickets, plus the shared alcohol we pre-gamed with as a group. As soon as she sat down, she was going in on how stressful her day at work was and how she had screwed up something major in the company's budget, etc. We had to straight-faced listen without letting on that we knew it was all bull crap, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. After we placed our food order, I made eye contact with B and Sharon and pulled out my phone. I set it to the voice memo record and placed it face down on the table. I was sitting beside her, and B and Sharon were sitting across from her. I started the intervention by giving her the opportunity to be honest. We let her know that we knew she had been lying about things, and that she had this one opportunity to save her butt and explain everything. She said she had no idea what we were talking about, and pretended to think back on everything, saying she couldn't think of anything we were talking about. I asked her if she needed any assistance, and she said yes. I pulled out a screenshot of the blueprint she had sent us claiming to be her work. Right as I put it on the table, she said, "Oh, that." And then the food came out. She made a big show of hiding the printout from the servers. After the server walked away, I asked her to bring out the blueprints because they weren't classified. She tried to say she uses templates for her job, but I told her that we knew that wasn't what it was. She then said, "Okay, so these are from NASA," and I immediately cut her off and said, "Try again." And it just went to crap from there. She just tried to double down the entire time, and Sharon, B, or I would have to stop her and Satam, "No, that's not true," or almost there. We were in the restaurant for 3 hours, recording for 2 of the 3. I'll give you some of the highlights. 1. Tried to say that her location showed she was home every time she said she was at the hospital with her mom because she could switch whose location her Apple account showed her Find My Friends. I asked her to show me how to do it, and she couldn't. 2. Tried to say that her family had to sell the farm for cancer treatments, but that it wasn't as big as she had said it was. I asked for pictures or an address to the farm, and she couldn't provide this. Eventually tried to say that her family sold the farm a year ago, but couldn't provide any information. 3. Tried to say that she did actually work for this big company, but that she was just a paid intern. When I showed her the job listing from the company website, proving it was 100% on-site, and that she didn't have the required experience, she had nothing to say. 4. Her mom never tried to hurt herself, she was just really sad. 5. Finally came clean and said she was using drugs again, meaning every time she was driving B or I's car for a work meeting or business trip, she was just buying substances. This explains some of the lies, as she was using them for a cover, but there were just other things she lied about for literally no reason. This also explains the missing cash, clothes, and items around our apartment. If she didn't have a job, she was likely selling or trading our stuff. While this is very sad, my sister and ex-partner were both addicted to several substances. It's not an excuse for her behavior or manipulation. After a while, she came through about some stuff, but not everything. We plan to talk to her family this weekend about our concerns for her mental health and substances use. She tried to say she had already told them about everything. But who would let their 21-year-old daughter take their car 20 minutes away to go get margaritas with her friends after coming clean to them about addiction and manipulation? I really think Jessie thinks we're stupid. When we got the bills for our dinners, her meal and drink was $16 and she only brought $18 in ones, meaning she tipped freaking $2. She was going over to a mutual friend's house, we'll call him Calvin. I don't think I included this in my original post. Jessie has been trying to romantically pursue Calvin, and we told her that she needed to tell him the truth by midnight that night, as well as come clean to the rest of the friend group about everything, or else we would do it for her. Lo and behold, she continued to try and lie to him, telling him half-truths, leaving things out, and other times still flat-out lying. I don't know why she didn't think we would follow up with him, but he was able to provide little to no detail matching what we had on recording. He was very angry and wrote her off completely. She also never came clean to anyone else in our friend group, so as promised, I typed out a message and sent it to a group chat that included her, as well as offered to provide screenshots and the voice memo. She is still trying to lie and manipulate the situation so that we look like the bad guys to people she thinks we haven't told yet. She still hasn't sent me my $50, but she has a shift at the restaurant coming up, and I'll be stopping by to ask for it in person. I've been sending her daily reminder texts and have received no response. Sorry for the long update. It has truly been a wild, wild week.
It turns out my best friend has been sneaking around with my ex for months, and I only just found out when he finally sat me down to say he's moving in with her and basically leaving me homeless. To jump right into things, my ex-girlfriend Cassie, 24 female, and I, 23 male, were together for 5 years. We started dating in high school and stayed together throughout college, and then moved in together after graduation. I've been in love with her since before our first date. She's amazing, and I still think so. We were talking about marriage and starting a family soon. Then one day a few months ago Cassie wanted to talk, sat me down, and said she decided she doesn't want kids. She didn't just mean not now but not ever. She talked a lot about overpopulation or climate change or whatever, but I was just immediately depressed. I've always wanted to be a dad. My dad was a piece of crap and this is something I've wanted to do ever since I was still a kid myself. When she finished talking I told her it was over. She started crying and I was already crying, but damn. If she doesn't want the same thing I do from the future, what else can I do? She said she's been thinking this way for years, and I'm not going to wait around and hope she changes her mind when she might not. So I moved out and moved in with my best friend Ryan, 23 male. We've been friends forever, like we bonded over Pokemon cards at the playground kind of thing. He's basically my brother and his mom was my extra mom since I didn't have much at home growing up. I was in a hurry to move out so I didn't take much stuff with me, and then I didn't want to go back to the apartment and see Cassie, so Ryan was doing the good friend thing and going to get stuff for me whenever I needed it. At least that's what I thought he was doing. Yesterday would have been mine and Cassie's 6th anniversary and it was really rough for me, so I told Ryan I didn't want to be alone and wanted to hang out and game all day with him. He agreed and everything, but he was kind of distracted on his phone a lot, and after a couple hours he said something came up and just left me there alone. Things got dark. I'm not ashamed to say I cried. There were reasons I didn't want to be alone that day. Almost midnight last night, Ryan finally came home and was acting weird, so I asked what was up. I thought maybe his mom was sick or something. She's a teacher at a school that just reopened. But no, Ryan sits me down and tells me he's moving out. He's been secretly dating Cassie since a few weeks after we split. He says they're in love already and that she needs him more than I do, so he's moving into the apartment with her and leaving me here alone to rot. I don't even know how the heck to process this. I thought this was just some twisted joke at first because what the hell? Where did this even come from? I don't know which one of them has broken me more. To make things worse, I messaged some of our other friends this morning to tell them what's up and they already knew. When I got upset they all said it was no big deal because I'm the one who broke up with Cassie. Am I going crazy? Where do I even go from here? I can't talk to my friends, my ex broke my heart, my best friend stomped on it, and the closest thing I have to family is gone because they were his family too. I'm lost and don't know where else to turn. Edit to add, I have bigger crap to worry about than my broken heart I guess. Ryan texted me. I'm about to be homeless. Thanks so much to everyone reaching out. My inbox is blowing up but I'm kinda focused on this housing thing first. I'll catch up when I can. Sorry. Update 1 month later, I kind of debated if I'd post an update on this or not. It's been about a month and some stuff has happened, but as the post blew up I got a good number of really crappy comments that informed me I was a worthless piece of crap, that I should beat up my ex-girlfriend, or alternately that I was probably already some kind of horrible abuser who hated her and wanted to control her body. I also got a ton of love, support, PMs offering connections on housing, and more, But being I was already in a dark and desperate place, those other comments really twisted the knife. I had to spend some time away not just fixing my crap but also avoiding that stuff, because it was really not making me want to move forward. For anyone who's reading this while in the middle of a situation, wondering if you should post your story, my advice is, don't. Wait till you have some distance, or it's just going to make things worse. One thing I want to clarify here, since a few people swung for the fences based on what I posted, I don't hate Cassie. I don't think she shouldn't move on. I don't blame her for dating someone else after I broke up with her. I do have a lot of anger still thinking about this. All that anger is at Ryan. That's it. Ryan is the one who lied to me and went behind my back, not Cassie. My post pretty clearly stated that I think Cassie is an awesome human being, and I still think so. Period. We just wanted different things. So, actual updates. Shortly after I posted, Ryan texted me to say that he'd planned to give me a month to find somewhere else to live, but since I couldn't be happy for them, he wanted me out by Friday. Looking back on it, I kinda think this was his plan all along. Cassie's parents owned the apartment I lived in with her, so we paid bills on it but no rent. Ryan's apartment was expensive and his parents still paid some of his bills there, so I suspect he was looking for an excuse to break his lease and get in on that free rent instead. But I have a place to live now. Reddit helped me out after all, in a weird way. A couple days after I posted, this guy TJ hit me up on Facebook, "Hey TJ," with a link to my post asking if it was me. TJ and I weren't super close friends before all this, but he recognized some of the details. Skipping some back and forth, it turns out Ryan lied to all our mutual friends about the situation. Apparently he hooked up with Cassie the first time about a week after we split up. He asked some of our friends what to do and they all told him to make sure I was cool first thing. He then told them he had talked to me and that I was happy for him. So, when I started freaking out a couple months later, my friends all thought I was going crazy out of nowhere over something I'd known about for months. Once they found out what really happened, I got a lot of apology texts. Some of them I've accepted. Some are still on red. A couple of guys offered me crash space or help moving, and I wound up staying with TJ, but only till I could find somewhere else. My days of living in places without my name on a lease are over. Learned my lesson there. I found a roommate looking for a place through Craigslist and we signed the lease last week. Moving from TJ's happens this weekend. Ryan is blocked out of my life. I probably forgot some of my stuff at either his place or Cassie's, but it's whatever. I can get new stuff. I can get new friends. More than anything else, this situation made me realize the importance of having stable, independent housing and not counting on anyone else to do the right thing by me. I have to have my own back in life, not rely on others. That's about all I've got. It's nothing dramatic, I guess. No one was hit by a car, got pregnant, or turned out to be cheating. But I've never been so glad to have a roof over my head and a bed to come back to. I'm going to keep going from here, keep working on life, and I'm sure as hell going to be taking a break on the dating front. That's all there is to do.
Not only did I just find out I'm pregnant, but also that my husband's one-night stand gave me an STD, and now I'm seriously considering terminating our baby and leaving this man. So, I'm currently 8 weeks into my pregnancy, and I had gone for a routine pap smear and STD screening. Then a few days later, I ended up testing positive for gonorrhea. I have never ever cheated on my husband and never expected him to cheat on me either. When I confronted him with the test results, he seemed genuinely shocked and insisted there had to be a mix-up with the results. He swore up and down that he had been faithful and there was no way that it could be true. That made me feel a little better. Maybe he was right that there was some kind of mix-up. I insisted that he get tested. He agreed to do it, and as the days passed he admitted that he had met a woman online and made love with her. He claimed it was a mistake and he couldn't answer why he did it. He said the woman meant nothing to him and it was a one-time thing. I'm disgusted and feel betrayed knowing that he put me at such risk. Our pregnancy was planned, so we were actively trying before I got pregnant, and he had no regard for that. The thought of continuing the pregnancy while dealing with this betrayal is overwhelming. I'm considered having an abortion because the idea of bringing a child in the mix is crazy to me. I don't think I can ever forgive him. I feel like crap for thinking of having an abortion. I just can't see myself continuing this marriage and having a baby with him. Relevant comments. Commenter: does the STD risk the health of the baby? I think many of them do. With that in mind, I would end the pregnancy unless you are in your late 30s or 40s and really think this is your one shot at a child and it's your greatest dream, to the extent of doing it single. Definitely terminate the marriage. He is a slime ball. OP, it was caught early and I was treated. Me and the baby are safe. Update: 2 days later, I finally decided to find out the truth about his affair. I figured out my husband's email password and discovered that he's been on dating sites for months. I also found a woman's name and email address from hotel bookings he forwarded to her. I googled her information, found out where she worked, and called her. When she picked up, I got scared and hung up, but she called back, and we had a long conversation. She said that she didn't know he was married and kept apologizing. She told me that if my husband and I have been intimate in the past few weeks, I should get tested because he gave her an STD. I was shocked because I thought she had given it to him. She said he gaslighted her, making it seem like she got it from someone else. I told her he did the same to me. I didn't mention that I'm pregnant. She said she cut him off already and is even considering suing him over it. They met on Tinder and had been seeing each other for 6 months. Although I initially thought she should have known he was married, but I actually believe her, because my husband isn't on social media. He has an Instagram account but doesn't post pictures. She confirmed that they had made love multiple times, contradicting his claim that it was a one-time thing. She said they spent time in hotels until she felt comfortable inviting him to her apartment. We came to the conclusion that she was just one of the women he was involved with because he gave both of us an STD. Hearing all this made me sick, knowing there are other women. I feel stupid for not realizing what was going on and probably wouldn't have found out if it wasn't for the STD results. My husband doesn't know what I've discovered or that I've spoken to her. This is incredibly tough. I was pretty unsure about going through with the termination, but finding this out is pushing me towards that decision. Update 1.5 weeks later. I'm almost 10 weeks pregnant. I've scheduled an abortion, and I'm feeling so guilty about it. My mind keeps changing. Should I have my baby? I'm terrified that I'll regret it and feel terrible for terminating an innocent life. I'm also anxious about the possibility of never being able to get pregnant again. But then I think, maybe I'm doing the right thing. The thought of dealing with this man for the next 18 years is overwhelming. We'd still be in each other's lives because we'd share a child. I'm just all over the place, and I feel sick having to make this decision. We haven't spoken in weeks. He doesn't know I'm planning an abortion. Not sure if I'm doing the right thing by not letting him know about it. I filed for divorce, and it feels like I'm dealing with 2 major losses at once. I'm so stressed and unsure how I'll survive this. If I have the abortion, I can 1. Move on with my life peacefully. 2. Cut all ties. 3. Avoid custody battles. 4. Never having to see or hear from him again. 5. No longer have to deal with his lies and deceit. If I keep the baby, here are the things I have to deal with. This list is from someone in my comments. 1. Him wanting to be there during your pregnancy. 2. Him wanting to make decisions about your baby, from the name to anything else you can think of. 3. His family and their opinions. 4. Him wanting to be there during the birth. 5. Him and his family trying to gaslight your child into believing you're a bad person and daddy is perfect. 6. Him being your child's role model. 7. Having to ask for his permission to make decisions like traveling or where you live. 8. Your child having a stepmom and maybe step-siblings who might not treat him well. 9. Your child meeting multiple girlfriends. 10. You being forced to let him take care of the child. 11. He will be free to have a parenting style completely different than yours, and if he's immature and petty, he might do things the opposite way you like them, just to piss you off. 12. Dealing with his emotional, mental, and financial issues. 13. Never knowing whether he's telling the truth or lying about all kinds of things. Did he feed the baby? Did he take care of his cold the way you told him to? Why did the child get hurt? Could you trust him to be sincere? Could you trust him to be honest if he makes a mistake that hurts your child, even if coming clean would help the child? Or will he hide it and lie the way he did with his cheating? 14. Don't tell mommy we did this, you saw this, I told you this, you ate this. 15. Him being nosy about your personal life, including when you start dating or get into a relationship or marry. I'm his father, I have a right to know who's the guy he's gonna live with, and crap like that. 16. You can be sure your romantic life would suffer if he behaves that way. Not many good men want to get involved in that kind of situations. 17. Him using the kid to manipulate you. Update 6 days later. I had an abortion. I had an abortion yesterday, and I'm not sure how to feel. It was a difficult decision, but I believed it was the right one. There was no way I could keep the baby under these circumstances. Now, I just feel numb. I haven't told him, and we haven't spoken since I left him after discovering he gave me an STD. I know that when he finds out, he'll likely try to paint me as the worst person. I'm not sure if he deserves to know the truth, or should I just say I had a miscarriage? I just found out my husband might have cheated on me with my now dead best friend, and they might even have a child together, but he's insisting it's not what I think. I, 33 female, don't even know where to start. The past 6 months have been an absolute cluster truck, and it only seems to be getting worse and worse. My lifelong best friend since elementary school, whom I'll call Alice, sadly passed away in February from cancer. She had a 2-year-old daughter who went into the custody of Alice's mom after she passed away, who I'll call Alexis. Well, last month Alexis showed up on our doorstep unannounced, telling my husband, 36 male, he needs to take responsibility for his child and either take custody or start finally paying child support. She says that Alice had told her when her daughter was born who the father was, but didn't want anything to do with him. To answer the inevitable, Alice was a traveling nurse and made a lot of money, which is the only reason I can think of for why she didn't go for child support. During this conversation, my husband had the worst panic attack he's ever had, so we had to end the conversation before I could get more details. My husband's story is, I don't even know. He said that Alice's daughter is probably his, but that it isn't what I think. Almost 3 years ago, we threw a large housewarming party as we just moved into our dream home, after I finally finished residency and was set to make real money for once. Alice was in town and set to be at the party, but I was called into work before she got there. I didn't get back till after 3 a.m., party was winding down, my husband was passed out upstairs, and Alice had already left the party, which at the time I did find strange as we hadn't seen each other in months. My husband claims he woke up in the middle of the night to Alice on top of him, but he passed out again before he could say anything. He claims he never told me because he was worried I wouldn't believe him, which I don't know if I do. He showed me some texts he sent his best friend the next day asking for his advice about him thinking someone essayed him, but if he cheated he could have had that conversation as evidence, especially since he never said Alice specifically. Ever since the party he has been very distant with Alice, and after she had her daughter he would even find excuses not to be around the house when she would visit at all. I don't know if that's because he cheated, or if Alice did actually essay him and this was his trauma response. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. I've known Alice since we were children and she had never come across as that kind of person. But I've also known my husband for over a decade and he's not once ever given the inclination of a cheater. He's an attractive guy and I've seen the looks he gets at the gym and he's never even given more than a glance. What the hell should I do? How do I figure out what the truth is here when Alice isn't even around to defend herself? She never even implied she liked my husband, let alone want to sleep with him. I told my husband he needs to get a DNA test before anything is decided on the child's part, but in the meantime he needs to move out while I think about what I'm going to do here. Update the same day. After reading through many comments and talking to a lot of you, I've come to my senses and the realization that my husband is being truthful. My best friend essayed him. Several people pointed out that with Alice not liking my husband, if it was an affair, she would have told me when she was dying, if only to separate us. You're absolutely right. I was there, in the room while she passed. I held her hands for days, we talked about so much. If it was just an affair, she would have told me. But if she essayed my husband, she wouldn't have said a word. That's the type of thing horrible people take to the grave. I've also come to the realization that I made a terrible mistake asking my husband to leave for a few days while I gather my thoughts. Not to make excuses, but losing my best friend to cancer, a long cancer fight at that, was brutal. To say that I was devastated wouldn't do it justice. That it happened only 6 months ago, I'm still feeling it every day. So to have this thrown on me? It's like I'm losing her all over again. Either she betrayed me, and screwed my husband, or she betrayed me and essayed my husband. Not only have I lost her, but now I've lost the good memories, an entire lifetime's worth. It was impossible for me to look at him and not also see her, and be struck with the horror and realization of that loss all over again. I felt I needed to be able to break down, grieve, and think without the fresh wave of loss I got every time I saw him. It was wrong of me to ask him to leave, you're right though, and as of a few minutes ago I've righted this wrong. I called my husband, I apologized, told him I believe him, and begged him to come home. He'll be here in half an hour at most, and I'm going to support my husband the way I know he would have supported me. I've been an off and on Reddit user for several years, and sometimes the advice given on subreddits like these can be a bit hit or miss. But today you guys did good. You've helped me realize not only that I was wrong and being stupid at that, but that I was hurting the person that needed me the most. I was selfish. I have no idea what we're going to do as far as the potential daughter is concerned, but I can assure you we'll deal with it together. It's going to take a lot of time, and probably a lot of therapy, to grieve this new loss. I feel numb now, as though I'll never cry again. My best friend essayed my husband, which means she was no friend of mine. She flaunted it, coming to my house, sitting with me and gabbing. She brought her child here, trying to rub it in his face, right in front of me. She tortured the man I loved, and I was an unknowing party to it. I feel sick to my stomach over how many times she came over, just to hold it over him. I'm honestly at a loss on how to make that up to him. If you all have any ideas, please feel free to give them to me. I think I'll need all the help I can get. Tomorrow I'm going to take a leave of absence from work, just until we can figure out our next steps, and we can get our heads on straight. Thank you everyone.
I found messages on my girlfriend's iPad that make me think she's planning to leave me for her dying ex, and now I'm seriously considering leaving without saying a word. I, 28 male, saw their messages last week and I haven't been the same since. I borrowed my girlfriend's, 26 female, old iPad for work purposes and her Facebook account was still logged into the device. I was going to log in on my messenger because I forgot my phone at home and I was going to message her, but then I saw that she had messages from her ex-boyfriend. Let's call him Andre. Her and Andre dated for 2 years. They were each other's first love and she never told me what happened between them. I met her a year and some months after they broke up when I went on a trip with my family to California. I didn't know anything about him other than the fact that they dated sometime in high school and college. When I met her, we instantly hit it off. She showed me around LA and me living in Australia wasn't a problem. We were in a long-distance relationship for a year until I saved up enough money to move out of my country for her. Other than that, it took me months to look for a job in Los Angeles so that I would be financially secure when I got there. 3 years later, we're still going strong. Or so I thought. When I clicked on their conversation out of curiosity, I immediately noticed the kiss and heart emojis. Right then I knew what was happening. I don't want to go on about the details, but the only message that stood out was her talking about leaving me for a few months so that she could take care of him. He has cancer, it's at stage 1 but he reckons he's going to die. On one of his messages to her, he asked if she would visit him in his house. And I'm pretty sure she did because they mentioned how they had a great time together and that it was good to catch up. Well, it's been a week since I found out. She doesn't know that I know, or that I took her old iPad out of its box and that I had spent 2 days reading their messages. She has no idea at all. She thinks everything is okay between us but I actually want to cry for a long time and I want to physically hurt myself. I have no friends in LA, all of them are back home and they're all living their own lives now. I don't want to talk about it to anyone because thinking too deeply about it hurts. I guess when it all comes down to it, she never really loved me and I'm still trying to accept that. I think that's the part that is hurting most. I don't know how to approach this. I have written my resignation letter for work and I have messaged my parents that I was going to go home sometime next month. I did both when I was extremely upset. I just need advice on how to approach this. I don't want to talk to her about it, at all. I can't even look her in the eye without wanting to break down. Please help me on what to do and how to approach it correctly. As of now, I'm thinking of leaving while she's at work. Update, I finally talked to my girlfriend about it and unfortunately, she is now my ex-girlfriend. A lot of things that I never expected to happen did happen in a span of hours. As soon as she opened the door to our apartment, I could tell that she was already starting to cry. Seeing her so vulnerable like that also hurt because I didn't want to put her in that position. I had to constantly remind myself that none of this was my fault. We sat down, there were lots of tears. I thought I would be bitter, angry and that I would be screaming at her the whole time but I just felt disappointed instead. I told her that I saw the messages and explained how I ended up scrolling through their whole conversation. She kept reasoning that she just felt sorry for him and that she didn't know how to say no to him because they go all the way back. Then I told her that we go more way back than they ever did. I was there through her lowest point, I helped her get up. She admitted that they had made love more than 3 times. I saw it coming, I had a gut feeling but hearing her confirm it hurt so much. At that point, I was full on crying. I can't remember some of the things that happened because my mind was all over the place. It still is now. I remember telling her that I was done, that whatever we had was over. She kneeled in front of me and asked me to forgive her. I don't think I ever will. I can't tolerate people who cheat. By that point, a third of my clothes were packed up. Obviously she feels happier with him if she can do this to me. When I posted my first post, a Redditor approached me and offered me a place to stay. His place was only around 15 minutes away from ours and he picked me up. He'll also help me sell a lot of my stuff that I can't bring back home and will help me gather all my things back in my apartment. We both agreed that I don't mention him in this post. I'm glad that I really opened up to this community instead of keeping it to myself. Thank you to everyone who also offered me a place. It's almost 3 a.m. I'm heartbroken as ever but I'm trying my best. I'm sending my resignation letter to work this morning. Every person in my family now knows my situation here and have offered support. I'll be flying home as soon as possible. To all my Aussie mates, if you live near or around Chapel Hill, let me know. America, you were great but now it's time to come home. Thanks for the help everyone. Edit, I'm crying again, not because I got cheated on but because I realized that there is a whole world out there that cares a lot for my well-being. I almost can't believe I looked at hurting myself as an option to get away from the pain. I am really overwhelmed and also thankful for this community. Anthony and his wife, the Redditor who helped me says this has been the most wholesome thing that ever happened to him. I may have lost a girlfriend and a future wife, but I gained heaps of friends. And even friends for a lifetime. Other than that, I am feeling better. It still feels surreal that she's gone but what can a bloke do? She made her choice so I made mine. I woke up to multiple messages from her family saying that I shouldn't rush things and that she's stupid and makes mistakes like everyone else. It sucks that I may not be able to see her family for a long time. They were great people. I thanked them and said that although I believe in second chances and everyone makes mistakes, cheating is a choice that jerks pick, never a mistake. My ex also emailed me around 5 in the morning. The email was too long, my eyes hurt from crying so I junked it straight away. I miss her like crazy. I know it will take a lot of time to heal me but I guess I can wait. Final update, hi everyone, I know I promised an update as soon as I landed in Australia. A lot of things just happened after my last update and I genuinely haven't thought about letting everyone know that I am okay and safe. I didn't get to sell all of my stuff in the short amount of time but I managed to give it out to people who really needed it. That alone made me feel a lot better about the whole situation. It was a lot of electronics that I can't afford to and possibly bring back home like the TV I bought for my ex that she really loved, the microwave and my PS4. I'm in Australia now and not everything is going as planned but whatever situation I'm in right now is at least okay. The cherry on top of all this crap is that my brother verbally abusing me over something dumb I said about the cancer guy while I was drunk. It was something like hope he dies a painful death and it got him all worked up considering one of closest friends did die in a painful way. To cut the story short, I didn't end up going to Brisbane to live with him and am now living with my parents in Perth, unmotivated and jobless. I feel so hopeless and completely miss my ex but I can't do anything about it other than sook. Thanks to everyone for being a friend. I'm sorry to people I disappointed and promised to see in Brisbane. I really haven't been out partying like what I thought. Bye now. Post over a year later from the OP's younger brother, Alex. My brother posted here asking for advice regarding his girlfriend who was going to leave him for his ex. I want to find the post. He passed away and I want to know why he did what he did. I have been skimming for a while without an account, putting in keywords on the search bar. I'm desperate to see, please help. I am his younger brother, he passed away to suicide 2 months ago. He moved all the way to America from Australia with his girlfriend that he met there while on holidays. They broke up because he found out she cheated on him with her ex-boyfriend. I remember when we were talking about the vulnerable situation he was in and he told me he met some people from a Reddit relationship advice page that helped him transition from America to Australia again. He said he was also going to meet people in Chapel Hill before crap hit the fan between him and our older brother. He would have been 28 to 29 years old when he posted. Please help me, I just want to see his account. I want to know what was on his mind, I need that closure. Commenter, first off, I'm sorry for your loss. I'd be really careful reading his posts if you find them. Make sure you can handle it. I can only imagine how hard it'd be to do something like that. Please look out for your mental health. You could just make things worse by moving forward with this. I suggest you maybe discuss this with a therapist before reading into anything. You want to make sure this will absolutely help you get closure and start to heal, as much as one can. If you're absolutely sure you want to read his posts and that this will help you, not harm you, here is his posts. Alex, thanks a lot for this. I'm still trying to gather the courage to read the whole thing. It hurts to know this happened to my brother. He was a good guy, would never hurt anybody. He sacrificed a lot of things for her and I really just can't believe this. Thanks to everyone who showed him kindness when he was far away from home. Commenter, I'm glad I could help. My brother was suicidal for a long time. I remember how tough it was. He fortunately got better after some time though, but every once in a while I have nightmares that he did go through with it and just those nightmares mess me up pretty bad. I can't imagine what it's like to actually live through that horror. I'm really sorry for you and your family. I hope the posts can bring you all some closure. Please be real careful though. If I were in your shoes, I could very much see myself getting too hung up on the content of the posts and making my mental health significantly worse. This is why I very much recommend this is something you look at with a therapist, if you do decide to open those posts up. Alex, it's really tough. Every day I was scared that something would trigger Connor to do it. I had to call him 3 times within a day to check up on him while I was at university and work. We were having fun living together since the pandemic began. I thought he was enjoying spending a lot of time with me, but I think the isolation wasn't doing his mental health any good. I guess it's harder for me because I lived with him. I'm glad to hear your brother is okay now. Alex, thanks a lot for your help everyone. I still haven't clicked on the post yet, I just need some time to collect myself. I'm pretty nervous but my family and I have been in the dark for so long, we really need this closure. He never spoke about the situation again and I wanted to see if he had any more to say. Commenter, I wouldn't get your hopes too high for closure. I'm not sure that's entirely possible with a situation like this. These posts only represent a small snapshot during a short period of his life. His suicide is likely more complex than any one issue. Read it if you want, but please don't go into this hoping it will provide what you need to move on. Alex, I'm really thankful for the nice comments. Connor was a great man and he didn't deserve any of the pain life had thrown at him. My older brother, Kurt, and I will be reading the posts together tonight. I will be deleting the app straight away to give me some peace of mind. He also had a Reddit app in his phone with a different account. I really don't know what he was doing with many accounts, but I hope I have cleared it for some people. We will read most of the posts on that account tonight too. I know he was much more active on that one. I will not be telling my parents about this, they are already going through enough pain as it is. No one should have to go through the bouts of burying their own kid. Much love, Alex. My ex is causing so much drama in my life that I'm seriously considering giving up my kids just to make it all stop. I, 37 male, don't know where to begin. I was married for 13 years, I have 2 children who are 4 and 6 years old, and after being divorced I am now remarried to a wonderful woman named Donna. My ex, 43 female, will not stop harassing me. I have to communicate with her for the kids, but it is so contentious that the court finally ordered all communication to go through an online site, and I had to change my phone number and move. It was seriously that bad. I had my kids this weekend, things went great and I went and saw my family. No incidents, we had a great time. Then I got this email. Jill and Marvin, my kids, report that they were in a traffic accident with you this weekend, in the truck. They both report that the loud, obscene exchange between their father and the ABC towing driver scared them. They both report that they were bitten by Greg's dog, Murphy, during their visit at your folks' house this weekend. This is the second dog they have both reported biting them. I have also posted their reports that they have been bitten by a large dog named Betsy, at your in-laws' house. They have traumatic memories of metal being scraped out of your leg. I hope that you recover and get back to your job quickly. I hope that Donna is okay. They report that you have trouble walking. This is consistent with behavior I observed at drop-off on Sunday night. You didn't get out of your new car, and it appeared very awkward for you to unbuckle their booster seat belts from the driver's seat. I need to know about these things, please. Dog bites are notoriously dirty and prone to infections. Just because our children didn't appear to be as seriously injured as you were in the truck accident, doesn't mean that they couldn't be stiff and sore and possibly have internal injuries for which I need to be observing. At least I need to understand why they were stiff and sore and acting more fearful than usual when they came home. Their mild to moderate bruising and scrapes, and the chunks of skin missing from their hands and fingers, are consistent with their reports of the accident and the dog bites. I will take Jill and Marvin to the pediatrician walk-in clinic to rule out any unseen injuries and infections. It would be nice if you would call or email the doctor's office, and tell them what you can about the accident and the dog bites. It could help rule out tests and treatments that might not be necessary. It would also be nice if you would pay your half of their medical expenses, especially because the accident and the dog bites happened when they were with you. Today is Jill's first day of school. I could have taken them to the doctor 2 days ago, if you had shared that they were bitten and in a traffic accident that was bad enough that it required a tow truck for the truck, and medical care for you. If you want to drive the kids to Santa Barbara and back in a weekend, expose them to animals that aren't safe for children, and fight with tow truck drivers in front of them, I cannot prevent that. But what happens to their little, growing bodies, and the events that are being imprinted on their sweet, innocent minds, is very much my business. Please share all of the information regarding what happened to our children in the truck accident. Please share all of the information regarding the bites from the dogs. As a mother, it is very worrisome to hear my preschooler and my first grader recount the dangerous things that are happening to them, but it is even more worrisome that my co-parent withholds vital information about their health. Jill and Marvin deserve to know that their parents are working together to take care of them. Thank you. I don't even know where to begin. The dog that was there had no teeth, didn't bite them, and couldn't have even if it wanted to. My in-law's dog is dead. I was never in an accident. There was no tow truck. All of this is false. I can't even find a shred of a real event that could have gotten twisted. This comes on the heels of 4 days ago, her trying to corner me into signing away 30% of my custody agreement, and refusing to let me even look at the details of the paperwork. I am so frazzled by all of this that, at times, I think about signing away my parental rights just to not have the stress. But I don't want my children thinking I don't care for them and abandon them. How do you reason with this level of crazy? Any advice is welcome. I need help managing this. Relating post by OP 4 months later, legal rights surrounding a primary custody parent who after 4 attempts is not picking up her children from me, the non-custodial parent. I am in Southern California. I don't know what to do here. I am the non-custodial parent. I have had the kids for 1 week, 4 and 6, during Christmas break. Due to the high conflict nature of my ex, we have been assigned a co-parenting person to help mediate. On the 30th we were supposed to exchange the kids back to her care. I showed up 15 minutes early to the location, and we waited for 1 hour and 7 minutes before giving up and leaving. She had been claiming she was right there for over 35 minutes. The location was an IHOP, 300 feet from the freeway exit. After I left I got a slew of messages calling me all sorts of names, and claiming that she had just showed up, but that I had left. This song and dance has happened before. She said she would meet me anywhere, just to let her know where. This time I called her bluff and picked a location 2 miles from my home, and told her, the kids are hungry and tired of waiting. I'm taking them to my house. When you arrive at the location, 11 miles from the IHOP, text me and let me know, and I'll bring them right over. I sent her the location 5 times in text and twice via email. 4.5 hours later. Nothing. I then told her that we could meet at the agreed upon location at 11 a.m. the next day for the exchange, just 1 day later than planned. When I woke up by the morning she demanded I drive them 1 hour to a new location, because she had a 103-degree fever and couldn't drive. There of course was a back and forth about her ability to care for children if she was too sick to drive. Ultimately she failed to arrive at the location at 11 in the morning. At 5 p.m. I got a doctor's note stating that she only had a cold and was fine to care for the children. I didn't ask for this. I then called her and we had a heated back and forth, but ultimately I relented and told her that I would bring them to a location that she chose. 1 hour away and 1 mile from her house. Under the agreement that she would show up this time. Before leaving I sent an email confirming the location and time. That was sent at 7:48 p.m. We arrived at the location at 8:51 p.m. and texted to let her know we were there. What happened next was so frustrating. No response to any text was ever given. Every time I would send a text, I would get an email. All of them stating the same thing. That she would not leave her house until I verified my location. I sent her 6 different responses to emails telling her where I was. All I would get in response is more messages asking me to confirm my location. I even made a phone call telling her where I was. Unfortunately at this point I was in such disbelief I did yell at her and tell her to get her butt down here. Not my finest hour. At 10:21 p.m., with kids in high anxiety and crying that their mom had forgotten them again, we left and drove the hour back home. I have now messages accusing me of child abduction. I don't know what to do. I am not subjecting my kids to this again. I can't bear to watch them check every car, and get excited I think I see her. Over and over again for hours while she plays these games. My worry is that the cops are going to come knock down my door. When I have done everything I can to make these exchanges work. Is this enough to have my lawyers file an emergency hearing to get primary custody? I am in limbo right now since neither my lawyers or the co-parenting person will be in the office until the 3rd. OP made another post 6 months later, not sure what my options are with a crazy ex-wife scenario, literally. I am in the process of a 7 to 30 evaluation for primary custody of my kids. 2 kids 7 and 5 today, was another doozy of an exchange. And I am fearful for the kids. I don't know what my options are here, if any. My ex was 53 minutes late to the exchange today. At 4:24 she sent me a text stating she was exiting the freeway that is 2 miles from the meeting spot arranged in co-parenting for today. She doesn't show up until 4:53. The exchange goes okay. But I know something is coming, because if she is ever in the wrong she has to lash out and blame someone else or invent a scenario where she is the victim. I had to wait all of 4 minutes. I got a text stating I just drove by your car, and the back seat was empty. Where are the kids? I said that wasn't my car. I have 2 kids. Then knowing where this was going, sent a picture of them in the car. Response: when did you have time to take this? Because I had plenty of time to look at the stoplight. You were alone. It's okay if Donna, my current wife, has them. It's totally legal, just weird to hide it. I then called her, she answered, and I said hi, she said hi, and then I asked the kids to say hi. I then asked the kids where are we at kids? At this point she started saying hello, hello? Is there anyone there? I then got a text, thank you for the phone call. But there was no sound. I responded, I am turning off my phone now. These accusations are bizarre. I got back, not as bizarre as pretending to pick up our kids. Just tell me who has them. I called again, immediately with the hello? Hello? I knew for sure it was a game at this point. I just ended the call. She responded, you can't just keep ending conversations because you don't want to deal with the facts. If this turns into another 49-hour abduction like New Year's, I will definitely be filing a report. This is next level insane. I am terrified for the kids. This is like raising to the level that she needs to be committed. Any thoughts apart from just continuing with the psych eval I already have going? OP makes a post 2.5 years later. Okay, I want to give the timeline so people understand the full issue I am up against. Basically my children were hidden from me for 55 hours during my parenting time. Their location and the whole situation. Well, I was lied to about the whole time. I've been divorced 5 years. 30% custody exchange was to be December 28th at 12 p.m. for my half of Christmas break. 2 days before the exchange, I get a picture of where they are spending Christmas showing large snowfall, and a message saying they are not sure when the snow plows will start. 1 day before the exchange, I get another picture and message stating the same thing, except in the picture you can tell cars have left and come back from the first picture. Then later that day I tell her, if you get out tonight, I'll come get the kids as planned, in court order, from your house tomorrow at noon. If you do not get out until the morning, do you want to just bring them by my house, on the way from where she is coming from? She replies with a thumbs up to that message. Then a couple hours later I ask if she got out, and no response. Now the day I'm supposed to pick them up. In the morning I ask for a status update so I know if I need to drive the hour to her house. No response. I asked for an update again an hour later, and no response. Then I head her way an hour before I pick up the kids because it's quite the drive, and noon was the court-ordered plan anyway. At the exchange time I arrive at her house. I text her that I have arrived. Her car is there. Her mom's car is not. She lives with her mom. I videotape the time on the vehicle, verbally notate the time and date. I show her car in the darkened house on the videotape. I assume she has driven up with her mom to where she is snowed in. 10 minutes later I finally get a response saying they are still snowed in. No plows yet. 4 hours later I offer that since my parents are driving down, and they have a large truck, they could swing by and get the kids on their way to my house tomorrow. No response until the next day. Note, I check all roads in the area. All are showing being open, and flowing traffic. I even verify with live traffic cams from a half mile from where she is that roads are cleared and cars are driving. I have screenshots of this and the video is time-stamped. The next day in the morning, she declines this and says we should stick to orders. She also tells me her internet is out. 3 hours later I contact the police about child abduction. I tell them the story. They say here is an incident number, we are not going to open a case on this. Take it up with the court. 5 hours later I get a message saying freeways closing down for the night. Been driving every back road looking for entrances without frozen bridges or backed up with accidents. It's an hour wait every time I fill up. Everybody's sure it'll be better tomorrow. Signals are better at least. I respond asking her to tell me when she leaves. Note, no freeways or highways are shut down. I check all state and local websites to verify. Even check Twitter and local live camera feeds. 2 days after I was supposed to have my kids, I call my lawyers, tell them what is going on, send them the timeline and they say they will reach out to her attorney. Later that day they finally get in touch with her attorney and the response back is that she is leaving today, that she will message me when she does, and I can come and get the kids from her place. An hour later I ask for an update from my ex. Then 3 hours later she texts me that she's still having gotten no communication. I call my lawyers again. They call her lawyer. I finally get a response. I have left, that's all. An hour later I get a text, I am home, you can come get them. 55 hours past exchange, I get the kids, then I ask them about the snow and being stuck. I was not trying to pry information or grill them, just casual light conversation. Then they tell me that they have been at home for 3 days. Since the night of the day before I was supposed to get them. Now I am asking some more pointed questions. I ask about what car they drove. They are kids, maybe the timeline is wrong. They say they were in their mom's car because grandma had to leave on Christmas Day to be back home, so they drove separately. They say that mom said I told her she could keep them for 2 more days. I am furious. It was all lies. I am contacting lawyers today. But what are my options here? I want to have a reasonable expectation walking into this. My stance right now is, I need action and need someone else to be as posed about this as I am, or I'll find a lawyer who is. But I do realize my emotions are elevated. Update 8 years from the original post, and 4.5 years from the last update. I was looking in my profile and saw my post in this subreddit from 7 years ago, as my ex was causing so much chaos that I was doubting everything. I took everything to heart and implemented several things right away. I became a gray rock, and started documenting my butt off. I consulted my lawyers, and they said they advised several steps. The first of which was a 7 to 30 evaluation. This is an evaluation done by a psychologist. That process took a really long time as the 7 to 30 evaluator got very sick halfway through. That took 10 months. At the end of the report essentially read mom is volatile and disorganized and that dad's home would be a more stable home for the children. However, there is hope that mom is starting to improve, so if things are still bad in 1 year it would be appropriate to change custody to dad. This was a tough pill to swallow. Things were not better, and the chaos was just intermittent. So we just kept documenting, and doing our thing. Eventually, we started getting a lot of emails from teachers that Jill in particular, was often not bathed, never had her homework done, didn't have school supplies and that she was falling way behind in her studies. We applied for a trial to review custody, and asked for primary custody to be swapped to us. That was at the end of 2019, and trial was set for May 2020. So as you can imagine, once COVID hit, everything got delayed. There was a large amount of events in 2020. COVID shut down. Donna and I had a child, Rebecca. And then my ex started denying visitation to Jill and Marvin. Every 2 weeks I would go down, wait in front of the house. No kids would emerge. Sometimes I would have the police come, not to force anything, but to get the documentation in terms of a case number. This went on for 4 months, before I was able to start getting visitation again. Eventually, the trial was set for summer of 2021 and went for 3 days and I had over 500 pages of documentation. Day 1 was entirely testimony from the co-parenting therapist we had been seeing for 5 years. She testified that my ex was the most difficult client she had ever worked with in her career, that my ex never followed a single agreement in session, and that she was a pathological liar. Last day of testimony was my ex, where she was caught lying on the stand, and was presented with evidence that she had been secretly taking the children to a medical professional for 2 years that I had explicitly not agreed to. So starting in August 2021, the judge ordered for the kids come live with me, primary custody and limiting my ex to 4 days a month. It's now been 3 years. When Jill was in 5th grade she had a 26% in math, and a 40% in English. For the last 3 years, she has maintained a 4.0 every single year, and will be starting high school in honors geometry, honors English and AP biology. Marvin has also been doing well also and just finished his first year of middle school with a 4.0 GPA, and is loving his coding and robotics elective. They have new clothes, and have learned new skills and responsibilities. Donna has been crucial in setting up patterns to help with success in school. Their rooms are both immaculate, and they are the ones doing it with very little direction from us. They are happy and finally involved in activities and sports. Our little Rebecca adores them both, and I will often find all three of them cuddled up together as one of the older two reads a book to her. Jill made the decision recently to stop going on visits to her mom. The chaos and drama started being directed at her, along with lack of food, clothes that fit, etc. Marvin is still going for visits and we are encouraging that as long as he is feeling safe there. All in all, things are going so well and the kids are doing incredible. There are hard moments still, but it has all been worth it, and we are able to shield them for the most part from any chaos their mom may want to start. If anyone is reading this that initially sent advice, thank you. When you are in the thick of it, it is tough to not feel like it is impossible and you will never be able to overcome it. I needed the outside perspective. My world shattered when my wife passed away, but now my so-called friends made it worse by exploiting my daughter's grief on TikTok when I trusted them to watch her, and I'm so heartbroken. My 29 male, wife, 28 female, passed away a few months ago. We had known each other for over 15 years, and were married for 5 years. We were soulmates, longtime friends, and we had never imagined that we would break up, divorce, or live a life apart from each other. Last week, I sort of collapsed and had to go to the hospital. Nothing serious, just weakness due to stress, anemia and lack of sleep. In any case, during this time my kid had to stay with my close friend and his girlfriend for a while until my parents drove over to pick her up. A few days after this event, a lot of my old acquaintances and friends I hadn't heard from in years randomly began to message me, call me, ask to meet up, offer help out of nowhere, etc. I didn't know why this was happening until I found out that my friend and his girlfriend had posted a TikTok of my child which ended up going a bit viral in my town. I watched the video, and I couldn't stop sobbing for several hours. I've been trying to keep it together, but I can no longer do so. Apparently, my friend and his girlfriend were making a video of their kid and mine playing together when my kid started crying saying she missed her mom. In the video, my friend and his girlfriend proceed to question her, saying aw and ooh and asking her if she knows where her mom is, and how much she misses her mom, when she's coming back, etc. My daughter is too young and has trouble understanding that her mom is dead and not coming back, goddammit. I work from home, and she mostly stays with me while my wife goes to work, grocery shopping, etc., and my kid still thinks her mom is at work. In the video, she continues to say her mom is at work, and my friends question her, asking when she's coming back, how much she misses her mom and similar questions. The video is captioned "My friend's wife recently passed away. I feel so bad for their daughter who doesn't understand she's gone," or something to that effect. I am heartbroken, angry, bitter, and I wish I could explain the amount of hatred I have towards my friend, his girlfriend and all the people who have commented saying how much they pity my kid. I don't know how to get over this feeling of anger and deep resentment. Since then, they have taken down the video and apologized, but how could they be so insensitive? The worst thing is I keep rewatching the video, and every time I feel myself get torn apart by the fact that my kid doesn't understand what has happened. I am so upset and bitter, and I've been repeatedly thinking I should have died instead. I've been trying my hardest to make my daughter not miss her mom, and I feel deeply pained by the fact that my kid will never know her mom or my wife never got a chance to see our daughter grow up. I'm rambling, but I don't know where to go, where to talk about this. I was trying to keep myself together. It's late at night and I'm rewatching this video and remembering the comments of how my daughter will grow up without a mother, and it's making me feel deep resentment for my friend and his girlfriend. I am so upset and angry I am shaking just thinking about it. I don't know how to function anymore. Perhaps, I am directing all my anger and frustration towards them. I'm self-aware enough to understand that, but how could they be so insensitive? How could they do this to me? What gave them the right to ask my kid those questions, to make her miss her mom even more? I don't know why I'm here. Sorry if this is too much, I'm not thinking, just writing whatever comes to my head. I just wanted to vent. I just don't know where else to go, but I had to talk to someone. My parents and her parents have been very supportive, but I feel suffocated and don't feel comfortable talking to them. I'm starting to hate living, and that scares me. My daughter doesn't deserve to lose her father too. Damn, I wish I could just move on already and be a good father. I hope I love her the way she deserves. She's the most precious thing in the world, and I am so terrified that I am going to let her down and disappoint her.
My boyfriend has been weirdly obsessed with how perfect I am for his best friend, and I'm starting to think he's trying to push me into a relationship with him. As the title suggests, I, 24 female, believe that my boyfriend, 26 male, might be trying to push me towards dating his best friend. I've been dating my boyfriend, let's call him Michael, for about a year now. We've known each other for several years because we've always been in the same friend group since high school. His best friend, let's call him John, is also someone I've known for a long time since he's part of the same group. John had asked me out years ago, but I turned him down because he's always been somewhat of a cocky guy who could never see he was ever wrong. Many people find him charming, but I think smarmy is a better word. He seemed offended but brushed it off and even told people that I had asked him out and he rejected me, which was fine because it didn't affect my life at all. After a few months, all was forgotten and we just pretended the other one didn't exist, and that's how it's been for years. Until Michael asked me out randomly and I decided to give it a shot. It turned out we had a lot of similar hobbies and really had a good time, so we started dating shortly after that. Now, about 6 months ago, Michael started to act strange but in really subtle ways. I would talk about how much I loved animals and he would interject that John just loved animals. Which wouldn't be weird, but he did it with everything I talked about with even the slightest bit of enthusiasm. If I loved it, John loved it just as much. He told me how compatible me and John were and how he wished we meshed more. I eventually told Michael the first really didn't care what John liked because he was kind of pretentious and we never got along. He seemed really offended but quickly recovered, and by the next day everything was good again. About a week after that instance, Michael would talk up John randomly and with seemingly no reason. Hey, I talked to Brittany yesterday and man, John is apparently a god in bed, haha. Maybe I should ask the guy for tips? John is volunteering at that shelter we went to a couple weeks ago. What a guy. We should have John make us dinner, he's a great cook. It was every day to every other day I had to hear about John's greatness, and it was to the point I initially thought that Michael wanted to date John. Then 3 weeks ago, after we had some drinks, he asked me, if we ever broke up, would you date someone else in the group? I had no idea what to say because it was so random, but he quickly filled the void by saying, I think I would if I were you and John was single. Seriously? So 3 days ago I confronted him in the kitchen and told him that if he had anything he wanted to tell me I would listen to it no matter what, and that I would always be there for him. He seemed confused and told me he had no idea what I meant by that. So I brought up all the times he talked about John and how he would date him and told him that if he really wanted to date John, the first understood and would support them. After all, they're best friends, so they obviously have a good connection. When I say he blew up, I cannot stress how angry he got. He used a dozen slurs for gay people and said he was disgusted I saw him like that and that he would never do something like that. We ended up getting in a huge fight over it because I certainly don't support his language or attitude toward LGBTQ folks, and that it was just a vibe I got from him and I didn't mean to mislabel him. We haven't really talked, but he's staying at his parents' house right now, and today John called me to tell me he doesn't support Michael's attitude toward me and invited me over to talk about it, even saying that Michael was 100% okay with it. Am I crazy? Am I making up some convoluted story in my head, or is this bizarre? Edit to add, so I called Michael when he got off work and the first thing he asked me was if I went to vent to John. Naturally, I didn't because we're not close, and told him as much. He didn't have much to say to that, so I started on my questions that you guys suggested. Why are you pushing me toward John? Do you want to break up? Etc. He got once again defensive and said he refused to talk about it over the phone and suggested we meet at John's place to talk it out. I asked why John had to be included at all since it is really between the two of us, and he basically told me that it's really between the three of us. I refused meeting at John's for obvious reasons and told him if it had to be the three of us we could meet at a restaurant. He seemed fine with that and we scheduled meeting at a bar and grill that's pretty close to all of us. I showed up early and got us a table that had some privacy, and not long after John walks through the door, he sat down immediately and started chatting about how we were both so timely and that he liked when women showed up early because it showed they had good time management skills. 25 minutes after Michael was supposed to show up, he texts me and says he had car problems and couldn't make it but to get to know John since I was already there. I'm just beyond livid at this point. John keeps trying to buy me drinks and even tries to schedule another time to hang out. I confronted him about Michael pushing me toward him and he acted like he didn't know what I was talking about. I kept mentioning how Michael was talking about him to me and John just said that it made sense because bros have bros backs. I told him the brothers can have each other and left fuming. Michael's tried calling me 3 times, and John's tried 7. I want to cut them both off and say good riddance, but to do that would be leaving the friend group as well, and I don't really have that many friends to begin with, and it makes me so mad that I even have to make this decision. Anyway, that's the update. Sorry if it doesn't resolve anything, it makes me angry too. Update: I went to Michael's house pretty early this morning since I have work today and really needed this resolved. I had been up all night going back through the comments and trying to piece everything together, and honestly it was driving me crazy. Michael was alone when I got there, which was a relief because I pictured John showing up like a movie villain. He initially didn't want to let me in, which was really weird, but I told him I wasn't going to leave without talking to him about this. So he finally let me come in, and we sat down to talk. I asked him about last night, which he said he had car trouble but it was all fixed now. Convenient. I asked him a few more questions but was met with vague answers, so I decided to just cut to the chase and said, "Why do you want me to like John? Do you want me to date him? Do you want to have a threesome? What is it?" Once again, instead of answering, he just watched me from his stupid chair and then had the nerve to ask me who I told my suspicions to. So I said I'd been running them through my head but that my mom knew I was coming over to talk. She didn't, but he was starting to be really creepy. He got mad and said it wasn't like that and I was making him out to be the bad guy because they were, yes, they, looking for something long-term, not just a one-time thing. And now that all my suspicions were 100% confirmed, I told him you can't make plans including someone else without their consent, and that I would never be interested in anything with the two of them, and that I was no longer interested in anything with just him either. I started leaving and told him to never contact me again. Same goes for John, and he could share the message when he blocked my way out and said I had to hear him out and his side of the story. I told him I didn't want to nor care to and that he needed to let me leave because my mom was expecting me in the next half hour. He started getting frantic, saying if he could just get John over there to explain it would all make sense. So I ran out the back door and used the garden exit to get to my car and locked the doors immediately. He came outside and started pounding on my window saying I was making a huge mistake and that I'd regret this. I was bawling in my car when I backed it up to drive away. I'm pretty sure I drove over their mailbox by accident because the back of my car has a huge dent. My car was basically out of gas, so I had to stop even though all I wanted to do was put as much space between us as possible. Which is when I saw the dent, right when I was about to leave. Who else would call my name but his mom? She was on her way home from the grocery store and was worried because I looked like hell warmed over. I told her about everything that just happened and got more than a few stares from other people, but screw it, I guess I'm just the crazy lady at Maverick. His mom looked horrified for me and told me to stay as far away from him as possible. She told me to come sit with her in her car, where she proceeded to ask me when I met Michael, which was high school. She figured as much and said that in middle school, him and John s***ed a girl together and have a sealed record because they were minors and didn't mean to do it. She told me how sorry she was because she said it happened so long ago she thought he changed. She put him in therapy and thought he was better. She said if she had any idea there might have been a chance of this happening she would have told me immediately. I just gave her a quick bye and I'm so freaking scared of everything right now. I'm going to my mom since they both know where I live. I sent a mass text out to everyone in the group detailing everything, and so far 3 people have said they support me, so that's good, I guess. What do I even do? I'm never talking to them again. I've already blocked them both on everything I could think of, but I've been getting hidden number calls since. I'm considering going into the police station to file a harassment complaint so that it's at least documented. My mom said she's going to call my uncle who works at the court and see what the next best step is. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if I would have confronted Michael without you guys confirming how weird this was. I'm terrified but glad that I at least know what's going on now. My mom's here as my support right now, and some of the girls are coming over later tonight just to make sure I'm okay. I'm sorry if this only makes some sense. The adrenaline still hasn't left me and my hands are unsteady. I appreciate every single one of you who took time to help me out because I think I got out just in time, honestly. Thank you guys. Last update. I'm so sorry it took me so long to update. Life has been crazy, and between everything and the state shutting down again, I've been a mess. I went and talked to the police about getting a restraining order, but the officer I talked to said it fell into domestic violence and had me file a DVOP, domestic violence orders of protection, and we have an unset court date to take it before a judge. I'm nervous as heck about it, but at least something is going to happen. With Michael anyway, because I didn't have a relationship with John and he never technically harassed me, so there's not much I could do with him. I'm still getting a ton of blocked calls, but I'm in the process of changing my numbers, so that should resolve itself soon enough. I'm back in my apartment though. We've added some new safety features, cameras and new locks, and currently it's a waiting game. I have to see Michael in court at some point to tell my story, and John's gone missing in action. When the police went to talk to him, he wasn't home and hasn't been as far as anyone I talked to knows. I get weird letters left at my door, but they've all been delivered by the post office, so not much I can do about that. It's mostly rambling about love, which gives me the creeps. I've stopped opening them at this point and keep them in the drawer for when I go to court. I have an interview for a new job, so wish me luck. My boss has let Michael in twice since I've been back and I don't feel safe there anymore. My friends are split 80-20 now. Minority thankfully is with Michael and John, but now I know who I can't trust. Anyone who listened to what I had to say and still think I'm being irrational because I led John on is a jerk. No way about it. So good riddance. Unfortunately, my mom wasn't left alone and someone broke her front window, so the police also had to show up for that one. It's been quiet for 2 days now. I'm not sure whether to be relieved or nervous. Does looking over your shoulder ever go away? I hope so. This feels more like a diary now than a post. I'm okay though, and my life is getting there, so once again thanks to everyone who helped or messaged me. OP leaves a small update in the comments 4 months later. Michael's tried to see me a few times, but every time he attempts to is just another thing I can write down for my court case. He technically isn't allowed near me or my place of work while we wait, but he's tried because he can't take no for an answer. Most of my friends are still with me though, and I didn't realize how much I hoped they would be until it all calmed down and I still had them around to help me through everything. I got a new job and a new place to live after someone tried to break in when I was out of town. I finally got my day in court, and Michael can't be within 800 feet of me without me being able to call the police. He also can't go anywhere I typically go, which includes my new apartment building or job. The letters really helped with all that because everything else was just my word against his situation. I asked his mom to come as a witness, but she refused to talk against her son, so whatever. But yeah, basically I'm breathing new fresh air around here. I've seen John twice in passing and it still gives me the creeps. He's not barred from being around me, so he makes it a point to show up, public places, when he can and just hang around like the weasel he is. But the police gave him a very stern and impromptu talk when he showed up to support Michael at court. I think I'm in the clear, but they just want me to know they're still around, which sadly there isn't much I can do to stop John anyway. Yeah, that's all for now. Thank you again to everyone for your advice and nice comments. It was very helpful, and I'm so grateful. Bye now. My husband just left me because a woman hit on him for the first time in his life, and he says he can't let this pass. God, I am so angry at, I don't know. Kinda just everything right now. And this feels so messed up I don't even want to talk to my best friend about this as it hurts too much at the moment. My husband just told me he is leaving me and I can't believe the reason. For some background, I, 34 female, and my husband, 38 male, have been married for almost 2 years, have dated 2 years before that, so overall just a bit more than 4 years. He's always been very insecure about himself, even though he has a great personality, or so I thought. He's so generous, caring, and great at expressing his emotions and communicating. When I got to know him better, I couldn't believe he wasn't taken. In fact, he had only been in 2 relationships his entire life, both over 5 years long though. He told me that's because he's shy and ugly and women don't really want anything from him, like, ever, especially not good-looking ones. I am fairly conventionally attractive and he has kept telling me for the past years how lucky he feels to finally have found his dream woman and then her being as attractive as me. I was wary at the beginning though, so I let him court me quite a bit before going out with him for the first time etc. I really was fearing for some dark secret of his that I just hadn't uncovered yet, plus I don't want to look easy. But turns out no, he's a really sweet guy, and just very shy. I also don't think he's ugly. He's not in any way super handsome or so, and frankly, originally I thought he was not my type, but his charm melted all of that away pretty quickly. Once we started thoroughly dating, things went fast, because it all was so wonderful. Well, apparently a while ago he was on his own in the outside area of a restaurant having lunch when this woman went by and apparently struck up a conversation with him. He's shown me a picture of her since I asked him, and she is drop-dead gorgeous. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I am so mad, but she definitely looks better than me, I have to admit. He didn't tell me much about what they talked about, just that she was very friendly, and they exchanged numbers and started texting more and more often. He says she at some point openly started pursuing him even though she knew he was married, saying she just really fell for him and can't let this opportunity pass. He said that he was hesitant once he realized that she was hitting on him, and he was also excited because this literally has never happened in his entire life. In the past, he repeatedly said that women, at least attractive ones like me, have it easy because we can lean back and let the guys approach us, whereas for him it was always hard work to even get a single date. I always replied that it's not really like that and that being attractive has its own problems, but he then always reminded me of the fact that he had to work really hard to get me to date him too. He swears he has only met her one more time, for lunch, after the first encounter, and that he thinks it is not yet an affair. However, he thinks he wants to go forward with her because, as he put it, this is the first woman who is genuinely interested in me. I didn't have to text her for 3 months to get a date or anything. I can't let this pass. Or something along those lines. My memory is a bit hazy. The 3 months refers to the time it took him to get a date with me, by the way. And that is why he says he is breaking up with me. He says it's the right thing to do, because he wants to continue contact with her, but also feels doing that would be emotional cheating and he doesn't want to cheat on me, so he ends it before actually starting something with her. I feel devastated. I know there's nothing I can do. I want to be mad at him, but I am also mad at myself. I really liked him when we first met. Why did I give him a hard time? If I had said what I wanted back then, if I had pursued him instead of playing hard to get, he probably wouldn't be interested in that woman. But I always felt if a woman does that, she shows she's easy and I didn't just want to get laid, so I thought I must act that way. And now it's biting me in the butt and I of course am very mad at him, but he didn't even cheat on me. He's behaving exactly the way I always say people should act when they fall in love with someone else. Ugh. I kinda wished he had actually cheated on me with her. That would actually make it easier. Thanks for letting me rant. I don't need advice, I know I'm screwed. Update. My husband just left me because a woman hit on him for the first time in his life, and he says he can't let this pass. A couple days ago, I posted about my husband suddenly leaving me because of, well, having experienced for the first time that a woman actually showed active interest in him. Yesterday, my husband and I met for the first time since he up and left last Friday. And frankly, after the meetup, I was very shaken, so it took me until today to be able to write about this. Since so many people have reached out to me with helpful comments and all, I think you deserve an update, but I really wasn't up to it yesterday. Also, this is really long, so sorry in advance, there's just so much to cope with. So here we go. The situation felt very awkward, and I got the impression the whole time that he genuinely feels sorry for how things were and that what he is doing hurts me. I know many of you said he's a jerk, a cheater and whatnot, and I really understand you and are mad at him myself. But on the other hand, you all do not know him like I do. He's a very honest person, he despises lying and is really bad at this, he carries his heart on his tongue and I know him well enough to sense his feelings. Did that help me? Not so much. Now, even if I wanted to, I couldn't paraphrase our conversation, and I am sure I will miss out on certain things, and overall, it was a mixture of him telling and me asking questions, and it's all a big flurry in my head, so I'll just summarize I guess. First he told me that he really loved me, and he still does, but he feels that his feelings for the new woman are stronger. He told me her name, let's call her Jasmine. He admits Jasmine is gorgeous, but claims that on its own was in no way relevant for his decision. Yeah, right? He told me that she originally approached him because of a book he was reading during lunch. Supposedly, the book's author is her uncle, and she was able to tell my husband some funny stories about the time her uncle drafted that book. He says he and Jasmine have very similar interests. Jasmine also reads sci-fi as he does, because of said uncle who is a sci-fi author, and both like gaming and stuff. He says after they exchanged numbers, they initially only wrote about stuff like that, and later on they talked about other hobbies and interests and found more and more common ground, as he put it. He also admitted that like 2 weeks or so ago he started to wonder if he should actively tell me about her, seeing how she turned from an acquaintance to what he deems a friend. I interjected that they don't know each other long enough to consider her a friend, but he says he feels Jasmine is really genuine with him. This is a man who cannot pick up social clues unless they are spelled out for him, but whatever. He also feels a lot more in tune with Jasmine than he does with me. Admittedly, we seem to have less common interests, but I never felt like I have to be exactly like my partner. Opposites can complement each other well, and I always felt we do. Well, looks like he feels much happier with someone catering to his interests a lot more. He also became a bit self-critical then. He says after he left for his friend's place, he sat down and reread his conversation history with Jasmine, and he realized that she had indeed been flirting with him before she told him she wanted more. It didn't start out flirtatious, but he admits he totally missed that. He opened up the app on his phone and showed me the beginning, and then when she started flirting. He might have tuned the messages, but at least the beginning's really ready-friendly. The flirtatious parts, however, were blatantly obvious in my eyes, but he actually blames himself for that and says that while that doesn't change his feelings for her, it means he should have noticed this earlier and, well, he said, make the decision to pursue her earlier. That sort of broke me and I started crying because it sounds as if I never had a chance compared to Jasmine. He even wanted to console me, and I allowed that for a couple minutes, but then I sought some distance again. It both felt good and bad to be in his arms. Then it was time to ask me why she is so attractive to him that he leaves me, his wife, for just the mere possibility of being with another woman. I mentioned that someone, I didn't say Reddit, suggested she might be a scam, or just interested in breaking up marriages and going after men who are taken, and such. He, of course, vehemently denied that. Supposedly, they met last Sunday to go out for dinner, and they talked about the fact that she approached him even though he is married, and she claims to have a really bad conscience about this, and that she never would have done it, had she not felt such a deep connection between them, blah blah blah. I must admit I really struggled through that part. Because if it is true, it hurts me, and if it isn't, it hurts even more that he falls for this kind of bullcrap. He then told me in excruciating detail about his dating life, and how long he had his V card, and how he was always treated by girls back in middle school and high school, and by the women in college and later on, how he really feels that he always has to be the one initiating, fighting even for a chance, and felt like he was always treated as unworthy by almost all women, and how that made him bitter. He admitted that, but also how he always thought that someone who truly fits him, fits his personality, his character, his being, would be someone who would not make him jump through hoops, someone who'd outright tell him she is intrigued by him and wants him. He says he loves me dearly and was always very grateful for being with me, but that even with me he always felt somewhere between a beggar and the subject of a pity party, where I bestowed the grace of my companionship onto him instead of actually liking and wanting him. When I asked him whether that means he settled for me, he vehemently denied that. He said when we started to date, I really treated him better than any woman had done before, so he really thought this was what he had been looking for, and before meeting Jasmine he never felt like he needed more. I of course tried to tell him that I am not with him out of pity or anything, and explained why I made him wait 3 months, and why I think the man should court the woman and so forth, and then I also admitted that I might not have given him the appreciation he deserved. This time, it actually was his turn to drop tears for a bit. He said hearing that made him both grateful and unhappy that he never really communicated better about this. I told him that hearing him say that feels like he is putting the blame on me. And I swear to God, his eyes like doubled their size, and he looked genuinely shocked, and he apologized many times and said he did not want me to think he actually has any bad feelings about having to wait back then, and that this is a situation where no one is to blame, but especially not me. He said I have been a wonderful wife and all, but that with Jasmine, it just feels different, and like a deeper connection that the two of us have, and that while he thought that I was wonderful, he now realizes that what he really was looking for in life was something else. So he says reconciliation is not really an option because he realized that we're not right for each other, and even if it doesn't work out with Jasmine, he knows now that he actually needs something that I just am not. I mentioned marriage counseling, and he said that it's not like our marriage has issues, but that the issue is that we're just not right for each other. There were more things we said, and maybe I'll add some later, but right now I am too mentally exhausted, especially because I still don't feel like I can hate him, because he felt so freaking honest. I think he at least truly believes all the things he said, but that woman still might be a total liar or a scam. He at least promised to be careful with her financial-wise, but he assured me she's not that. I don't know what to make with any of this. It hurts. I guess my marriage is over.
I accidentally created a family with my next-door neighbor and her son, and now she wants to make it official with a date. I'm kinda freaking out. 3 years ago a woman named Cassie, 32 female, and her son Kenny, 13 male, moved into the apartment next door. They had a few boxes, so I figured I'd, 31 male, offer to help them and get off to a good start. I noticed Kenny had a PS4, so I told him that I game as well, and he was free to come over and play my systems anytime he wanted as long as his mother allowed it. I have a PS5, Switch and PC as an FYI. Since I'm a mechanic, I told Cassie if she had car trouble she could come to me anytime since I help out a lot of other people on the floor with their cars as well. She accepted. I didn't really interact with either Kenny or Cassie besides a few hays for a few weeks initially. But a little more than a month after moving in, Cassie knocked on my door and asked if I could check her car because the engine wasn't turning over. Turns out the spark plugs needed to be changed, which was easy enough to do. Cassie was very thankful for my help and offered to pay, but I told her it was no problem. She invited me to dinner with her and Kenny and I was hesitant to accept, but she insisted on it. The next day we had dinner and it was a good time. I learned a lot about her and talked to Kenny more. He's a good kid, really into games, science and his guitar. We even all went over to my place for some Mario Kart. From then on I got really close to Kenny. I viewed him like a little brother. He came over to play my games almost every day, and I even started teaching him about cars. I've even brought him to my shop to introduce him to tools. He's a quick study and he even told Cassie he wants to be a mechanic like me. I told him to aim higher and become an engineer. He's now even looking into engineering programs. I think Cassie really appreciated our relationship. She became a lot more friendly with me. I got COVID during lockdown and out of the kindness of her heart she brought me groceries, cleaned my apartment and even took care of me. I was totally grateful. She even cooks dinner for me every night, and we all have dinner together. She even makes dinner for me when I work late and leaves it in my apartment. The other day Kenny brought one of his friends over to his apartment. I met the friend and he said this is OP, he's like my dad. Not gonna lie, that took me by surprise. I always viewed Kenny as my little brother, but here he is saying that I'm like a dad to him. I asked Cassie about this, and she seemed surprised I even asked. She said that she would never force that role on me, but that he did view me as his father. He even hoped that me and Cassie would get together so that we can be a real family. Cassie then said she wouldn't mind that either. I asked her if she was asking me out, to which she just smiled and said yes. I was surprised, but said okay. We have a dinner date this weekend, and I'm nervous as all hell. I don't want to ruin things with Cassie and or Kenny. I really do love both of them, but I'm not sure how I feel about being the father figure for Kenny. It's a lot of responsibility and I'm not entirely sure I'm the guy for that. And Cassie, she's a really amazing woman. I just hope I can measure up to her expectations. In just asking Reddit, are my worries unfounded? Should I put some boundaries between me and Kenny? How do I not screw up with Cassie? Update 10 days later. Hey all, thanks for all the nice comments on the first post. It's weird being complimented so much, but I guess I like it lol. So here are some things to clarify before the update. People were asking me if I'm actually attracted to Cassie, and the answer is yes. She's one of the strongest, nicest, most considerate people I know. She constantly puts people before herself and I always wish that someone would put her first for once. And did I mention that Cassie is super pretty? I guess I just never thought Cassie would find me attractive or be interested in me that way. Now the update. I was nervous as hell all week leading up to the date on Saturday. During our usual family dinners, Cassie smiled at me a lot more. I don't think Kenny noticed since he was too busy playing on his phone. Cassie not so subtly suggested to Kenny that he go spend a weekend with his grandparents. He didn't really want to, but she pretty much pushed him out the door lol. On Saturday evening I knocked on Cassie's door and she opened it up wearing an absolutely beautiful dress. I broke the tension and asked if that dress was for me. She laughed and we went on our way. The evening was a little awkward at first, but when we were walking to the restaurant she grabbed my hand and smiled at me and it sort of got rid of the awkwardness. From there the evening went amazingly. We talked, laughed and had a great dinner. I asked her what made her change her mind about me, and she said it was the previous Christmas. For reference, Cassie is a hardworking single mom and Kenny has all of his needs met and more. But she can't afford to get him the best, and it really hurts her that she can't. She really wanted to get him a PS5 since he was begging for one, but couldn't justify the cost. Since I have some disposable income, I hunted for months, checking stock drops until I finally got one. I then surprised Kenny with it on Christmas and told him it was from his mom. Cassie was shocked and even started crying. Kenny was so excited he didn't even notice her crying. All she could tell me was thank you repeatedly. Apparently that made her realize that she wanted me in both of their lives forever. She tried to deny her feelings, but it didn't work. The conversation the other day was the opening she needed to finally confess how she felt. After dinner we went back to her place for a nightcap. We talked a lot about relationship expectations and how we wanted to proceed. We agreed to be exclusive, to take it slow and not to tell Kenny about anything until we're sure that this relationship is real and strong. We don't want to give him unrealistic expectations. She also said that her calling me his dad was too much too soon and she apologized for it. She said it was wishful thinking on her part and probably would have weirded out most people. She said to accept any role with Kenny that I wanted, but she hoped that I would see Kenny as a son eventually. Sorry to disappoint everyone, but we didn't do the deed. We decided that it was much too soon. We did however have a buzzed makeout session lol. The following day we went for brunch and decided to go apple picking. It felt damn good to be walking hand in hand with someone you care about and taking lots of pictures doing silly things. At our family dinner yesterday Cassie sat close to me and was rubbing her foot on my leg. I don't think I've ever been more turned on in my life lol. I'm not gonna lie guys, I think I'm falling for Cassie and falling hard. Well anyway I think that's it, we're together now and hopefully this lasts. I don't think I want anyone else. Cassie is everything one could want in a partner, and I hope that I can be worthy of her. She's a really special person. Thanks everyone, you're all so kind. Small update, since people seem to like our story I guess I'll give you a small little update. We spent Thanksgiving with her parents. Her mother always liked me and was our biggest shipper. Right away she sussed it out, I guess just by the way we were looking at each other, or our energy or something. Women are really good at that kind of stuff lol. Her mom pulled us aside and asked if we were together. We denied it at first, but she just gave us the come on face. We gave in and admitted it. She hugged me and practically squeezed the life out of me lol. Her mom couldn't even hide her smile the rest of the night. Meanwhile, while me and her dad were talking at dinner, Cassie was not so subtly rubbing her feet up and down my legs, causing me to stutter numerous times. Her dad asked me if I was alright. I just said I had bad heartburn lol. Honestly, I feel like I'm a damn high schooler again. This is also so new, dangerous and exciting. Like it's almost forbidden in a way. As for Kenny, the little man doesn't suspect a thing I think. We've been restoring a car together and that's been keeping his mind occupied. Plus he's too busy chasing his own crushes. OP makes a new post 1.5 years later. My girlfriend just sent me roses to my workplace and I don't know what to do with myself. Okay, I'm in the break room at my work and I'm grinning like an idiot and I don't know what to do with my hands, so I'm typing this out to get rid of all this nervous energy. I work as a mechanic and my boss called me over to the office. I thought I screwed up somehow, but he had a big bouquet of roses on his desk. He told me, "This is for you." I was like, what the heck, but I read the card attached and it said, "Just because, love GF." My boss laughed at me and told me I had a good one and to not mess it up lol. He did say he'd have to give me crap for it, but he's happy for me. Sure enough, the boys on the floor ripped me to shreds once they heard about it. But I didn't care, I was like floating on a cloud. Now I'm on my break and I can't stop thinking about how much this completely caught me off guard. Can someone please talk me down from going out to buy her a ring after work lol? Edit, hey everyone, I'm finally off work and I'm still really flustered, but I think I've calmed down lol. I don't think I'm gonna get her ring today, but I have to do something. Problem is I don't know what. She deserves absolutely everything, but I can't think of anything that would equal this. I do have an idea of taking her on a last-minute romantic getaway this weekend. Also, to everyone asking, yes, the woman in my story is Cassie from my previous posts.
My boyfriend keeps choosing his female friend over me, and lying about it, and can't see that he's clearly cheating on me. My boyfriend, 25 male, and I, 23 female, have been together almost 5 years. So now onto the story. This girl is the stereotypical girl that the guy tells you not to worry about. Let's call her Rachel. My boyfriend John and her have been friends since close to the beginning of our relationship. We were all co-workers at one point, so I knew this girl as well. The first time we had an issue was a few months into our relationship, when she told him she loved him. He turned her down, but they continued their friendship and she moved out of the state. A few months after that, I went on a road trip with my mom, and he decided to take one with his best friend. They stopped near where she was now living, went hiking for the day, and she asked if she could share their hotel room for the night so she didn't have to drive back tired. Mind you, the hotel room had 2 queen beds. My boyfriend's friend didn't want to share the bed, and both him and Rachel convinced John that I wouldn't mind if they slept in the same bed. They didn't ask me, I would have said no in a heartbeat. She moved back to the state for the summer after that, and they hung out periodically. A few months later, she asks John to help her move out of state again. She needed help transporting her stuff. This road trip would have entailed a 2-week car drive, and staying at her now place to help her move in. John asked me if I would mind if he went, and I said I would. I didn't want him to go, and would consider that inappropriate. He got mad, but respected my wish. Things were good and quiet for a while, until she moved back a few months ago. It started at the gym. She joined the one we go to. John and I work out on different splits, but at the same time in the mornings. She started following his workout split and joining in when they were close. Then she started flirting and touching him. I had a conversation with him about how uncomfortable that made me, and how I would like him to set boundaries with her. I didn't want to tell him to cut her off completely, mostly because he thought ultimatums like that were toxic girl behavior. So I let them continue, thinking he would talk to her. The touching and flirting continued and worsened, and I learned later that he had never talked to her about those boundaries. It went from just at the gym, to hanging out at her house. My family isn't in the picture, and I know he craves the attention and love that comes with a family like hers. So he started going more often, stopped asking me if he could go, stopped even telling me he was going and started lying about it, telling me he was with friends, or grabbing some food. I can see his location, so I know when he's over there. I started getting paranoid, and started checking his location every time he didn't respond to a text, or Snapchat. He was there. With her. Almost every time. Today, I went to work, same as usual, but let him know I would be off early. He said he would be home when I got home and we could watch TV and hang out. I messaged him 2 hours ago that I was heading back. He didn't open the message for an hour, so I checked. He's with her. They went out together. He put her over plans with me. I don't think they are physically involved from what I can tell and what he has told me, but I can't be sure about that. He's been distant, I've been depressed. He pretended to care and pretended to want to fix things. I can't tell if he's genuine, or he's just staying with me through obligation. Is this cheating? Am I overthinking this? Update, I'm staying on a friend's couch for now. All of my stuff is still over there, but I couldn't handle it anymore. I didn't plan on updating, honestly didn't even look at the comments until today. This was a way of getting my emotions out. But thank you. You're right. I talked with my therapist and my mom. Both of them said the same things. They both pointed out the red flags I didn't want to see. They both clued me in on the things I let slide without blinking. He's trying to text me, make up with me, figure out where I am, etc. I think he genuinely didn't mean to hurt me, but he's also not willing to see it. He loves me, but I don't think it's coming from the right place. I think he gave up on building a relationship a long time ago and was just following the steps to keep me there. Am I okay? No. Will I be? I think so. I'm currently trying to find somewhere to live other than a couch. Rent is pretty expensive, I don't think I can afford it without him, but I'll figure it out. I have friends on my side. I have people looking for me and making sure I am okay. I am grateful for them. I'll update when I get the chance. For now, I'm out and I'm safe. Update 2. We got together to talk yesterday, just to clear some things up and officially break things off. He saw this post, and told me some details were off, so here's the details he wanted me to clarify. The road trip was 1 week long, not 2. That's it. Other than that, our conversation consisted of him telling me I never gave him enough attention, I was toxic and I was the problem. He has been joking around with his friends about losing the towels that I bought in the divorce like our 5 years meant nothing. He also told me that, now that I was out of the picture, he was ready to get his own place, take time to travel, and basically do all the things he wasn't willing to do with me. Shocking. I listened to him for about an hour and kept most of my thoughts to myself. He doesn't deserve to know them, and I'm not going to put the effort into trying to convince him anymore. He did a great job at solidifying my decision. I feel sorry for the next girl he chooses to neglect and ignore. I hope she leaves sooner than I did, and listens to the red flags I chose to ignore. I hope he changes and grows, but not with me. Update 3, writing this a few months later. She's his girlfriend now lol. I'm dying. He's taking her to all of the places we went and basically replacing my existence with her. Shocking. But here's the best part. His neglect and abuse put me in the right place at the right time to find the most amazing, stunning, perfect man. I'm keeping him. Sorry ladies, he's off the market. We're moving in together in a few months, and he treats me absolutely perfect. Anyone out there stuck in a toxic or abusive relationship thinking they can't do better, you can. I did. And I am so freaking happy. If this man asked me to marry him right now, I would honestly say yes. People always told me, with the right person, you just know, and I never believed them. I know. He's it. I don't want or need anyone else. I'm so grateful for him. I'm thankful for the experiences that have led me to him. Everything happens for a reason, I truly believe in that.